Hello, AJ. What have you been up to, mate?
Well, Franklin, I'd done my Iron Man. It did not go quite as well as I'd hoped, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought it might be a little bit of a touchy subject, but obviously, listen, you still put the effort in, whatever way you look at it.
Yeah. It was just the last 30 miles of the bike ride and then the marathon that I wasn't able to do, unfortunately. What I realised is that they'll pull you from the race if you don't make it to a certain distance by a certain time, because they have to clear the roads.
Did you not know that?
No, I did, but I was a bit more confident at the time that I was going to make it. And then unfortunately it just didn't pan out that way. I got to 65 miles, realised I had another 50 odd to go, and I thought I'm not going to make the time, so I managed another 20, and then they stopped me, and they said, look, you've run out of time, unfortunately. So that was it, and it was Preparation is key, and unfortunately, I just don't think I did quite enough. But nonetheless, I've eaten my body weight in chocolate and pizza this week, and
since you got back here,
and then I'm back in the gym tomorrow. So we're going to go again.
Is that because you're upset, or is that comfort feeding?
It's it's a reward to myself a little bit. I know I didn't complete the journey, but I'd been eating extremely clean for about 3 or 4 months. I hadn't had alcohol.
You're just like me, aren't you? You're an athlete, absolute athlete. No chocolate, no nothing whatsoever.
Exactly.
I'd like to say that's the truth, but it's not where I'm concerned.
No, but you've been to York.
Yes, I went to York for a week. Decided to take a break.
Well, sort of.
Yeah, but, well, what I say is I ended up doing 20,000 steps a day, 10 miles at least, and come back more knackered than I did before I went there. But so the decision was we were going last Saturday, and we originally, I think the original kickoff for the game against who did we play?
River.
No, we didn't play River.
Liver.
No, we didn't play Liver. Who did we play?
I'm sure we played.
I forgot. Waterloo Dock. We played Waterloo Dock.
Oh, fine.
Hang on a minute.
No, I don't think so.
Have I missed a game? Oh yeah, I've missed a game. So who did we play on Saturday? I'm
sure it was River.
Well, listen, I don't know.
For Pete's sake.
I haven't printed up.
You'd think you'd know this.
But that doesn't matter anyway. It was Andy Barlow's first game in charge last Saturday.
Oh, that was MSB Walton Reserves.
MSB Walton Reserves, that's right, yeah. And then it was Waterloo Dock on Saturday.
So
MSB Walton Reserves, that was back at the... where did we play them?
The Gate. What's there?
It piddled all the way through the game anyway. That's putting it politely. So anyway, the original kick-off time should have been around about 1:15, I think, and it was in the end it was put forward to 3:30. So the original plan was we were going to, as a family, we were all going to drive down in the same car. But when Rowena found out that the kick-off was later, she decided to book herself a train ticket to York. So she went off to York earlier in the day, and because it was Andy Barlow's first game in charge, I felt as though I had to be there.
Yeah, fair
enough. I did, got absolutely soaked, wet through, and then spent the next 3 hours in the car on the way back trying to dry up, and I didn't.
At least you had heated seats.
Heated seats, everything heated about it. I had the heating on full blast, I had the fans on full blast, and I was still soaked. Absolutely soaked to the skin when I arrived there. Bearing in mind, it was probably the most pressurised drive I've ever driven in my life, because it was monsoon weather right across the 62 up the A1M, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it was absolutely horrendous weather.
Yes, it was.
I'm at many stages felt quite tired because of the heat, trying to dry myself out, and then I had a mixture of windows steaming up. But listen, anyway, when I did manage to settle down and dry up, we'd already booked tickets in advance to go and watch York City. Now I try and watch York City as often as I can when I'm up in York. And I think the last two occasions now they beat the opposition 5-0. I think they beat Yeovil 5-0 or 5-1 on the previous occasion, and then against Carlisle on Tuesday night. They whopped them 5-0 as well. Rowena came along to the game with James, and we were even caught on one of their cameras.
I think I saw that, or I at least saw you.
I was taking videos of the York City players celebrating their 5th goal, and then they panned in on us. So it was, what do you call it now? I'm watching you, watching me.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, something like that. Anyway, but listen, absolutely fabulous stadium. For anybody that's never been to York's new stadium before, then I highly recommend it. What's strange and odd about York City's ground is that when you actually land on the retail park, you don't actually know it's a football ground. Because it's surrounded with restaurants and a gymnasium and what have you, and then you've got this entrance that takes you into the ground. It is when you go on round the back you realise that it is a stadium in itself.
Nice.
But yeah, so it was a really really enjoyable holiday. But I'm absolutely tired, and you know York yourself because you lived nearby, didn't you?
Well, my sister lived in York, so I've been around Shambles and
the Shambles,
Whitmer-Watmergate. All of those fabulous places that.
Well, I go on the bus tour, and that's the smallest street in York, isn't it?
Whitmer-Watmergate.
Whitmer-Watmergate. Yeah, whatever it is called. Yeah, Whitmer-Watmergate.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the smallest road in York, and I think it had numbers 1A, 1B, and 2. So only had 3 or 4. Might have had 4 houses.
Yeah.
At tops. Yeah, and it actually runs parallel to the Shambles.
Yes, it
does. And the Shambles is fantastic, and York in itself, it's just so unique.
It is a very, very unique city, isn't it? Yeah, but you've drawn yourself away from the cobbled streets of Shambles and Whitmer-Watmergate, and you've come all the way back here to Skem, and you've had a few meetings.
Yeah, I've had a few meetings, and I might sort of touch on that at the end of the programme when we talk about Skem.
Outstanding. Well, we've got a lot to catch up on, so let's dive in.
Yeah, let's go for it. Hello, and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer, AJ Vergette. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the Northwest, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. This is Season 2 and Episode 13. I'm not going to say unlucky for some.
I was just about to say that.
Were you going to say that yourself, were you? But listen, run us through the order of the show.
Well, yeah, hello, I'm AJ. I'm the co-host on the show.
Did I not mention you?
You didn't.
Sorry.
You've certainly not mentioned me dulcet tone, so I'm going to start. No, we're not going to do it.
We're getting far too comfortable, aren't we?
You are. Anyway, so here's what's going to happen on the show. We've got an awful lot to go through. So we're going to be checking in on the Northwest counties, as we always do. The FA Cup 4th round qualifying draw has been made, so we'll take a quick scant over that one. We're going to be looking at Daisy Hill and AFC Liverpool. We're going to visit Controversial Corner, where there are phrases that are taking issue. Morecambe FC are making some headlines, and the abuse in the Ryder Cup, and also some electrical issues that Route 1 Rovers have pointed out as well. In part 2, we're going to be interviewing the returning Nelson manager, Arron Ripley, as he takes charge of the East Lancashire club for the second spell. He's going to turn into Chris Wilder by the time he's 35, I should think. Got about 5 spells in charge. In part 3, we're going to do a roundup of results, fixtures, predictions, and also dropping in, as we always do, on Skelmersdale United. So, Frank, where are we going first?
Well, the North West Counties, we always touch on the North West Counties first up, don't we? And it was a sort of mixed bag of results this weekend, because it was largely Macron Cup games. So it was the Capron.
Was the Macron Cup? Yes.
It was indeed. So listen, before we go any further, we'll mention Rick Holden has been named as the new manager of the Isle of Man, following the second of former guest Paul Jones. I messaged Paul when it happened, and he's extremely disappointed, as he felt as though the club were turning the corner, albeit with a very young squad. But it's never nice to see the demise of any manager, which sounds a bit coming from me.
Ghoulish.
Yes, but it's never nice. Listen, never nice to deliver the news, and it's never nice to be on the other end of it either. But football is one of those unfortunate games. So listen, we'll look at the results in the Macron Cup, and some of those that stand out more than others. I think AFC Liverpool. We'll touch on AFC Liverpool first of all, because they've been having a rocky time in the Premier Division.
Up and down.
But they're in the bottom 2. But they've managed to muster up 3 wins. First win in the one in the league was part of the first part of the run. I can't remember who they won now. Somebody somewhere will tell me. Maybe you. I can't find it, but just listen. Anyway, what they're doing is they've managed to go on a 3-match winning streak, and they've managed to progress in the FA Vase and in the Macron Cup. So on Saturday they played the Liverpool final, the Liverpool derby.
That's the one.
So that's South AFC Liverpool versus South Liverpool, and they managed to beat South Liverpool 3-1. Really, really good win for them there. South Liverpool managed to get a goal back in the 93rd minute. The attendance, but the attendance 77.
It's not exactly.
No, since they moved to Bootle, the attendance.
It's going to be it was going to drop off, really, isn't it?
Particularly with the start of the season. But this might be the moment that sort of elevates them,
turns
back
it all around. You would hope so, anyway. I mean, we talked about this before. There's a lot of dilution of teams within Liverpool. I mean, there are 3. With Liverpool in their name, just within the Premier Division alone, and then you've got teams kind of on the outer banks of it. Litherland, Remica. You've got Camel Lads. You've got what's the one in our division called?
Liverpool. No. Oh, sorry, in our division.
Oh yeah.
All right.
McGull aren't in our division. No. Well, you've got Liverpool now.
You've just gone back in time, haven't you?
I mean, it's a rusty start. But anyway, the amount of teams that are within the Liverpool city centre, and I think the demand to try and bring in fans to watch these teams. Bearing in mind as well, you've got your actual professional teams as well. You've got your Liverpool and your Everton.
The printer that's not been working all day suddenly comes to life when we're recording.
Absolutely.
Shut up, printer.
Or is that
shut up, you Epsom fool?
Is that one of our? I'm going to say, is that one of our knees telling us that it needs a bit of oiling at the hinges? Yeah, but anyway, a crowd of 77 turning out to watch AFC Liverpool beat South Liverpool.
It is the Macron Cup. So
in the Macron Cup
you're not expecting huge gates.
I suppose not, no. So we looked down at a few other results there, in an amazing game at Brocksteeds Park, where Ashton Athletic were 2-0 up after, they'd taken the lead just before the hour mark through Declan Hill, and then doubled that lead through Luke Crompton in the 70th minute, and it looked like they were coasting into the second round. But FC St Helens they came really late to the party. So they got a goal on the stroke of full time through Harry Hagan, which just looked to reduce the deficit and put a bit of dignity on the board. But then Mackenzie O'Neill grabbed an equaliser in the 93rd minute, and then in the 96th, Michael Abeto scored the winning goal to see FC St Helens through to the second round of the Macron Cup in possibly the most dramatic fashion I think I have ever seen. Have you ever seen 3 goals scored in injury time before?
I have, and I can't remember where it is. And I think it might have already happened this season somewhere.
God.
But not at our...
Evidently, when you're playing down the magic of the Macron Cup there. Everyone talks about the FA Cup, but reality is it's the Macron sort of delivers chapters and verses in history like no other. Some possibly dull results where they thought there might be big ones here. Daisy Hill and Burscough playing out a 0-0 draw at the Ginge Power Stadium there in front of a relatively decent crowd of 117 there. And in the Macron Cup, obviously, games go straight to penalties if one team isn't winning at the 90 minutes. So Burscough triumphed 3-2 on penalties, prolonging Nicky Hunt's winless run in charge of Daisy Hill, the Cutters. There was a similar 0-0 scoreline over at Darwin, where they played Garstang again, another healthy crowd of 206 there. Garstang ended up winning 4-3 on penalties there.
Yeah, can we just go back to the Daisy Hill situation? They're really, really struggling, aren't they? I mean, they're winless since Nicky Hunt took charge.
Yes.
They've been knocked out of the FA Vase by AFC Liverpool.
Yes.
And then, like you said, they were knocked out by Bearsco in the Macron Cup. It just seems that they can't get anything right at the moment. Well, and I'm not having a dig.
No, I mean, it's clearly a difficult start to life in management for Nicky Hunt, and I think he's got a bit of a tide to turn on Daisy Hill. Obviously, he's had to deal with a bit of an exodus of players that left when Lee Hill left. Including his goalkeeper, his captain, a couple of his attackers as well. So he is having to deal with a bit of a rebuild of the squad, and regardless of finances, Daisy Hill are in a bit of a odd predicament here because they're the only team within the Bolton reaches that are at this level. There's no other... I mean, you've got Atherton, which is 10 minutes down the road, and they've got 3 clubs within the non-league circuit that are, primed for poaching players in that neck of the woods. Otherwise, they're sort of fighting a bit of a battle to try and float.
So it actually makes you wonder whether there's a great deal of money gone into Daisy Hill since Arron Hunt took over.
You would think so, because
we know they've got a decent budget, but then we also know what it costs to get out of that division, because we're talking about... we'll hit on it later on the show with Droylsden and with Nelson and Holcomb. Yeah. The big hitters in that league, the amount of money that goes into the... we assume that's probably the big hitters in the North West Counties Division 1 North.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've mentioned this time and time again on the show when the rumours going round as to how much certain players are being paid. I mean, the one amazing rumour that stands out is a player... playing for one of the teams in the North West Counties Division 1 North being paid more than our entire budget for last season.
There was a couple of them, wasn't there?
Yes, there was 1 or 2 of them. But maybe... I think it's the reality of how difficult it can be at the North West Counties is probably starting to hit home for Nicky Hunt. Obviously, he had really good experiences under as assistant manager for... is it Clegg? He was assistant manager for... Michael Clegg at Atherton Collieries, but to step up on his own for Daisy Hill, it's... not quite a walk in the park.
So that sort of new manageritis, like I say, we'll mention it later on in the programme, is that a new sort of phrase coined by Arron Ripley. Doesn't seem to be taking... it's not doing anything there at Daisy Hill at the moment, and arguably you could say it's not doing the same at Skem at the moment. But we will talk about that later.
Talk about that too, yeah. So Ecclesall beat Market Drayton Town by 3 goals to 1. It was It was
Having
torpor.
a difficult season,
Yeah,
it
it was torpor and ecstasy on both sides of the coin, because on the one hand, Dan Dawson's a really good friend of ours, and Market Drayton just aren't quite hitting the gears that he would want them to at this point. A couple of memorable results, but this one against Eccleshall, disappointing, but perhaps not unexpected. On the other side of the coin, it was another goal for Jack Grimshaw, the former Skem United midfielder, scoring the third goal just after the hour.
Oh, yeah, Jack, sorry.
It is Jack Grimshaw, yeah.
There's a Luke Grimshaw.
I think it's his third goal of the season for Eccleshall to see them into the second round.
Really nice bloke.
Good guy.
Jack, yeah.
Got plenty of time for him.
Salt of the earth.
Wish he was more open to being interviewed, because I would have loved to get him in front of a camera to speak to him, but nonetheless, he preferred not to. Other results kicking around. So down in Cheshire, Sandbach United beat Hormond. Is it Hormond? Huffmond? Hammond? How do we say
Hormond?
it? Fine. By 4-0. Kyle Foley grabbing a hat-trick there at the
I can't believe you're asking me now, because I used to ask you.
Oh, we're both asking each other at this point. Atherton LR got the better of Pilks through a late goal from Harvey Sample, seeing them through to the second round as well. And it was a brilliant game over on the west coast, where Squiresgate played host to Cone. And Cone triumphed by 4-2, thanks in no small part to a hat-trick from Barney Wiggin, seeing them through to the second round of the cup. And Telford Town, whose manager we interviewed 2 weeks ago, won at a canter against Wolverhampton Sporting Community, their second big result of the season, winning by 7-1.
Incredible.
Against last season's bottom club from Division 1.
But even
North.
more incredible there is the attendance at West Didsbury and Chorlton. So they beat Cheadle Heath Nomads 4-0, and if the attendance is to be believed, it's in print, it was 712, which I would imagine, I don't know, apart from Bury, must be one of the highest attendances in a Macron Cup first round game.
God, really?
I'd love to. Kev Lawton, the statistician at North West Counties, I wonder whether he has that information to hand and whether he could, he could let us know whether that's a record. Away from Bury, obviously.
I think he. You might be right there. So Kev, if you are listening, we'd love to know. And the Macron Cup actually continued on Friday evening as well, where evidently the pick of the games happened in Ashton in Makerfield, where Skem's former striker Mikey Howard scored a double for Ashton Town, but it wasn't enough as they contrived to throw away a 2-goal lead. They were winning by 3-1 at one point. 3-2.
City of Liverpool keep shocking, don't they?
They do. It's very bizarre that we expected them to really, really struggle, but somehow they just keep managing to eke out results and victories here and there. The latest one with a goal from Owen Huff in the 93rd minute, securing them the result at Ashton to see them through by 4-3. Absolutely stunning, that is. And in fact, actually, it was City of Liverpool who were 2-0 up through goals from Adam Brooks and Adam Morgan. And actually, Ashton turned it around completely by going 3-2 up and then consolidated that by losing the lead and then surrendering the result altogether. Quite a stunning topsy-turvy game there.
Yeah, it makes you whether you worry too much about these cup games. I mean, they can, they can be a blessing or a pain in the backside.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think every team.
If you want continuity, if you want to keep the winning, the winning streaks going, you've got to be. Sometimes the attitude is to weaken your side and tinker around a little bit, but I've always been in the impression that I always like to see a full strength squad going into World Cup games.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice, as you say, continuity, and particularly for us, which obviously we'll come to a little bit later, for the sake of squad building and unity, because none of these players are contracted. If you want to get them working together, you need every opportunity under the sun to make sure that they can play together and play well.
So Droylsden lost to Main Road. That was a good attendance as well, 568.
That was at the Butcher's Arms, wasn't it? Yeah, not the result that majority were hoping for, though.
No, most certainly. And it looks as though Main Road had an easy route there, albeit Droylsden have got one back in the 78th minute. Exton Villa have battered Holker Old Boys. Again, we questioned how they do when they're travelling. It doesn't seem to do. They don't particularly do well. But looking at some of the midweek games from Tuesday night, Thornton Cleveley's lost 2-1 to Cone in the second qualifying round of the FA Vase. In the Macron Cup, Chadderton continuing their good form. They beat a good Earlham side 3-0. Benito Lowe scoring a couple of goals there. Tuesday night in the Premier Division, City of Liverpool drew 2-2 with Longridge Town. Glossop North End lost to Atherton LR. Staffordshire Senior Cup first round, Wolverhampton Wanderers Casuals 2, Wolverhampton Sporting Community 1, and the best they could do in that big derby game was muster up a crowd of 70, which is not particularly great, is it?
There's this thing going around really in the Division 1 South where they just seem to have poor attendances across the board, unless you're in places like Sandbach or Telford, and even then Telford's is not enormous because they still share the town with AFC Telford, but you would think that the majority of these teams have actually got followers in the Midland Premier rather than...
They're not winning teams, are they, though, by and large? And I suppose when you've got winning teams, you expect bigger gates. That not always happens. I remember when Skem were riding high in the Northern Premier Division, and the gates actually went down, which didn't make any sense at all.
Bizarre.
It really is. But listen, we'll touch on the FA Cup because Chadderton were the last team represented the North West Counties. Unfortunately, they bowed out to Spennymoor Town.
Yeah, that's not an undignified result by any stretch of the imagination. We know Spenny are a strong team. They're in the the National League North? Are they something like that? They're in a. They're pretty high up as Spennymoor, all credit to Chadderton. Heck of a result. They in fact were holding Spennymoor up until the 55th minute of the game, and that may have just opened the floodgates slightly for the goals that followed. Good crowd over at Spennymoor, 667. So Chadderton exiting with their heads very much held high.
Yeah, and listen, before we talk about the fourth qualifying round draw for the FA Cup in the northern section, we'll have a look at some of the results in the northern section of the third qualifying round. Darlington FC beat Fylde 3-1 at home. Ashton United lost to Runcorn Linnets 2-1. Looking at some of the teams more locally to us, Chester battered Cares and Ashton 5-1. AFC Fylde and Darlington drew 2-2. I don't know whether the replay has been played on that one, but I'm sure somebody will find out. Just looking at Runcorn Linnets. What was it saying about Runcorn?
Runcorn Linnets had they played Ashton United, and I think they won on.
They were the replays, I should say. The ones
they were. Pardon me. Yeah, so after the original 1-1 draw over in Runcorn, they made the trip over to Ashton-under-Lyne and beat Ashton United by 2-1. They are just one game away from the first round proper, and to do that, they will have to navigate past Buxton of the National League North.
Yeah.
Stunning result.
So Southport had a great victory at Morpeth, 3-1, to progress to the fourth qualifying round. Really, really good result for them.
Massive result.
Marine, unfortunately, bowed out to Buxton at home, 3-2.
Yeah, not a bad result for Bobby Grants. and his side, they can probably take a lot of heart from that game. Certainly, how results gone by have been going. So, do you know what? Fair enough. I can probably concentrate on matters a little closer to home. Then I should think.
And South Shields, who are leading the way in the National League North. They managed to batter Chorley 4-1.
Yeah, Chorley, who are riding high in the
they're only third position themselves, so
yes,
they did particularly well.
That's an excellent result for South Shields.
Yeah, so leaves with Hyde United beat Matlock Town 1-0. A good win for them, but they've had a change in management as well, haven't they? I don't know whether have they secured their new manager yet?
Absolutely no idea. I'll be honest, I don't follow Hyde United nearly as much as I possibly should do for this show.
So anyway, listen, the fourth qualifying round draw is as follows in the North section. It's AFC Fylde versus Darlington or AFC... Well, it's already been decided that, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, it'll be versus Darlington, yeah. Macclesfield versus Stamford, Gainsborough Trinity versus Hartlepool United, Carlisle United versus Boston United, Rochdale versus York City, so I'll go for York in that one. Runcorn Linnets versus Buxton. Morecambe versus Chester. South Shields versus Spalding. Tamworth versus Hyde United. Scunthorpe United versus Kings Lynn. Just looking at Hales Owen, which one team beat that? I don't know who won in that game now. So it's... Where are they?
I can't find it.
Also, this paperwork is so... listen, I've got it there, yeah. So it's Aveley versus Gateshead. Spennymoor Town, they won their replay, didn't they? Did they?
Against Hensford?
Oh, God, you know what? It's all this paperwork and you just can't find out. Anyway, listen, they're playing Billericay Town, whoever won that. Southport are playing Halifax and Altrincham at home to Harborough Town. So there's chances of progression there. We're obviously looking out for the likes of Runcorn Linnets, York City, Southport. We want these teams to. Yeah. We most definitely want these teams to win, don't we?
Yeah, of course we do. Of course we do. Yeah, we do. As you say, this is the last of the qualifying rounds before the FA Cup first round proper draw is made, and we really hope to see some of the inverted commas smaller teams play and get to where we and play against a football league team and get to where we were 5 or 6 years ago.
So what you really want is the strong league teams in the lower echelons of non-league to get maybe a decent draw in the next round, not necessarily go straight to football league, so they can get to the third round, because we always go back to the third round, Marine against Spurs and what it did for Marine as a football club, and also how close
Burscough were to drawing United in the FA Cup in, was it about 2005, 2006, something like that. I think they ended up drawing against Burton and...
Burton drew against Manchester United and then had a replay, and you listen to the thing that dreams are made of, and it's the one thing that I miss most about being in the amateur leagues now is the FA Vase and the FA Cup, and I've probably got a greater appreciation for the FA Vase now that we're not in it, because once we got relegated from the Premier Division of the North West Counties, you automatically bow out of the FA Cup. Yes, but you're still in the FA Vase. And now obviously that we've dropped down, we're not in either competition, and it hurts because it can make you a fair amount of money. And Skem had a good cup run a few years ago when they managed to play Harrogate Town in the first round proper and made a few bob out of it. Featured on TV as well. It's just the thing that dreams are made up. But listen, the absolute dream of the cup. So we're looking out for all of those, and I hope that your dreams can come true. So now we're going to the controversial corners.
Yeah, most certainly. So, Berkshire and Buckinghamshire FA has published a new inclusive language guide advertising that "come on team," the phrase "come on team," should be used instead of "come on lads," as it has been deemed an offensive term that should not be used, and come on team should be, as it is, gender neutral. Callum Saholtra, its community and inclusion manager, said the guide will help us all take simple but meaningful steps to ensure our game is inclusive, respectful and welcoming to everyone. The guide also encouraged referees to ask for captain's pronouns during a briefing and use parent, carer rather than mother. The Tory MP Sir John Hayes has criticised the guide, saying at best this is daft, at worst this is sinister.
I'd normally never pay any praise towards a Tory MP, but I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is political correctness gone absolute balmy. I mean, who thinks these things up? Who's mad enough to do it?
Community and inclusion departments made up of people who've maybe taken on feedback.
I don't normally swear, but it's all a load of bollocks.
Okie doke.
I mean, it is. I mean, basically, it's more bollocks than you'd actually think when you sort of strip it apart. I mean, we've gone from now, being able to say man of the match. Now, if men are playing in a football game, then the person that is the player of the match is the man of the match. He's not going to be a woman, and vice versa. If we're in an all-women's game, it's the woman of the match. I can't see the problem with that. Am I 58 years of age and out with the arc? You're a young man, from a young man's perspective, 30, 31.
I like to think so. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I'm probably in the same boat as you, to be honest. Now, I'm all for inclusivity and I'm all for opening up football to be as far-reaching a community as possible. We have always supported, the Rainbow Laces campaign. We believe that football should be a fair and inclusive game for everybody. And I think there are certain times and places where adaptable language can be used, particularly in the women's game. You'd not shout, "Come on, lads," to a group of women, really, would you?
But you wouldn't call a cabbage a turnip, would you?
No.
So, is a cabbage an offensive word? It can be used as an offensive word, so replace it with a carrot? Call it something else? It's just gone. It's gone absolutely bonkers.
I think this particular guidance is a little bit too far. The game we play isn't gender. It's not gender neutral. It isn't.
It can't be gender neutral unless you're both playing together.
Well, exactly. Yeah, as mixed teams.
Mixed teams.
And the only time I'm ever seeing that is on the Soccer Aid game.
Yeah.
When they have the men and the women playing together, integrated as one. And I don't think anybody is particularly bothered by the phrase "come on, lads." I've never heard a gender neutral phrase being deemed offensive. I've never heard any complaints being raised about this. So if these are being brought in, it's coming from a very, 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 very small minority.
Okay, can I make a suggestion? We can start this campaign here on the Speaking Frankly Football Show.
Oh, we're going to do a campaign.
So right across the Premier League and right down to the lower echelons of football, including amateur football, this Saturday we want to test the terminology. Come on, team!
Okay.
I've just blasted the speakers out there, so the monitor went off.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, do you think it'll catch on? If we were forced into say, "Come on, team."
Well, I mean, I'm on the commentary gantry this Sunday, so how on earth am I going to manage being gender neutral? Because, all I seem to say is, he, that bloke, he rises high, all of this stuff. The captains are shaking the hands of, all of that. I'm using the pronouns.
Well, I've never known one single footballer come up to me and say, "I want to be known by."
No, not by pronouns anyway. No. Because the thing is to have those kind of pronouns in there, you're inviting discussion as to whether you should be involved in the men's game or the women's game, because we haven't, as far as I'm aware, a gender-neutral football team and footballing community is absolutely minuscule. I'm not even sure there are any at amateur level. There may be some in the inclusive, specific world of sports. Actual gay football teams or LGBT plus community teams, but you wouldn't get them in in the kind of football environments that we're so used to discussing week on week on this show. So for me, I think they're overstepping a little bit, and they're probably making an issue where there isn't one. I'd love to see where they got their source from.
Yeah, and maybe concentrate on all the things that are actually going wrong in football. The abuse of players and
the racism,
officials, the racism on top of that.
Yeah.
Maybe sort of study that before the come on lads as being an offensive. I mean, you've heard the language. You hear it more at the lower levels because it's there's less people in the crowd, so it bellows out and it sounds worse when you hear it. And we all very, very tempted to use language that we prefer not to use in a normal day-to-day life.
Very much.
But I think there's a lot more to worry about in football than being offended by saying "come on, lads." But listen, I think we've probably given that far too much exposure. But listen, anybody that has got a view on that and wants to bring it up in next week's show, then please listen. We could try and find who this football boss is. That's
Callum Saltra, the community and inclusion manager for the Berkshire and Buckinghamshire FA. It'll be wonderful.
Should we try and get him on the show next week?
It'd be wonderful to see where he got his data from, actually. And if you are somebody who finds the phrase "come on lads" offensive and feel like the language guide should be used across Merseyside and Lancashire FA, do please feel free to write into us. We are very inclusive on the Speaking Frankly football show. Dalton, Skelmersdale.
But we draw the line somewhere.
And we're going to draw the line there. And we are going to move on to Morecambe.
Yeah, well, I picked up Morecambe again because we haven't talked about them much, and I feel really, really sorry for them because they managed to get this takeover over the line.
In the middle of August.
Punjab Warriors managed to secure the business on the 14th of August. They immediately sacked Derek Adams, then brought Ashveer Singh Johal on board with very little experience. I think he coached at Wigan Athletic, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he was the assistant there.
So he's managed 2 wins and a draw, but still rooted to the bottom of the National League, I believe.
Yeah, their win. One of their wins was their opening day victory against Altrincham. They followed that up with a 4-3 win a few weeks later against I want to say it was Boreham Wood, but I don't think that's correct.
It sounds right. But
sure, yeah, sounds correct. Yeah, we'll go with that. But anyway, they've had 1 draw and then 7 losses. Now, what's I think more difficult to stomach for Johal is the leakiness of the defence. So in 2 of their games that they've played, they've conceded 3 goals. In 2 of their games, they've conceded 4, and in their last 2 games, they've conceded 5 goals. Now, and that's a problematic statistic for any particular club or any particular manager. But
there was a lot of criticism at the beginning when they appointed him.
Yes,
but then there was a lot of people in equal proportion. So let's give this lad a chance.
Well, there's nothing wrong with giving lads a chance. I just think it's got to be at the appropriate level, and I don't think Morecambe is the appropriate level. I think that Punjab, in getting rid of Derek Adams, they probably got rid of a very, very good stalwart of the club and probably one of the very few consistencies that club has had in the entire time.
They've lost a network as well, haven't they?
Massive network, because people would, want to work with Derek Adams. He, in much the same way that he's very known across the stretch of of lower league, professional league football at that level, and they got rid of him.
Well, listen, if I was a National League chairman now and I was in charge of Morecambe, I would already be looking at his replacement.
You've got to examine the contingencies here because this quite clearly can't carry on.
Well, it raises that question of people probably say in equal proportions that you sack a manager early on, you haven't given them enough opportunity, and that's the mistake. That's the mistake you're making. But I think in this case, the original mistake is employing him.
I think you may very well have been right, yeah. But it's interesting to see the mirror images between Morecambe FC and ourselves, really. Relegation taken into hand. We weren't really sure whether, the club was, going to exist much longer than what it was. The funding has been secured, but we've not started the season well at all. What
we do know is that Morecambe have been... They played at a much lower level, haven't they?
They
played at Northern Premier League level before.
Yeah,
maybe even lower than that. If
I'm not sure how much lower that they've played. So it's obviously, I think it's more disappointing for Morecambe than it is for us, and I think it probably gives us a little bit of comfort recognising that there are teams who are relegated and aren't there yet in finding their feet and getting that togetherness to start kicking on and producing positive results. It is, I do feel sorry for Morecambe fans, but as a Skem fan, it does make me feel a bit,
Yeah, listen, the consensus of opinion was that when Panjob took over the club, there was going to be a few bob ploughed into the club. And I know they certainly they dealt with the debt.
They did, yeah.
Which you can't argue.
It had to be the priority.
They've done a great job there. But they're not actually floating, and that's the worry. And how long do they let that go before they stem the miserable form, or do they believe that it's going to turn around?
Well, I think they're going to need to give this guy a bit more time, because in sacking him, they know full well that they'll have to pay him severance. They'll have to buy out the remainder of his contract, or
it depends how deep their pockets are, because know certainly at the higher echelons of the Premier League, managers get sacked left, right, and centre. It doesn't matter whether they have a big contract or not.
They've also had to rebuild their entire squad in the same way that we do. I think they were only left with about 2 or 3 players, so they've had to rebuild entirely.
That's because contracts were broken.
Yes,
one would assume now, because of the takeover, all of these players will be contracted. So whoever comes in now, that side of things is secured. A little bit different to what at our level, where you can come and go unless you've got the collateral to retain them. So they've got a big, huge question mark hovering over their heads, and you've got to. In this instance, I think they've got to act really quick, because the next thing that'll go will be the fan base. Because those people that come together at a time when things were really bad, they'll soon forget the fact that they nearly went out of existence. And they'll be thinking, well, hang on a minute, we're going to end up going further down the pyramid, and we just do not want that to happen. So people and supporters turn against clubs very, very quickly.
Particularly when they're not doing well.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a bit more. And maybe listen. Hopefully, you always want a manager to do well and turn things around. So we're not suggesting for 1 minute that Ash Veer is incapable of doing the job. Let's hope he can, and he can turn things around, and everything looks nice and glow.
You have to wonder though whether a more experienced manager would have been ideal at this point, though.
Yeah,
if you're going to have an entire squad rebuild, you'd want a manager who knows exactly how he's going to play. You want an old-fashioned style of manager who's had experience in abundance at this level.
Can I make a suggestion?
Go on.
Dave Jones. Not Davy Jones, Jones, but Dave Jones that used to manage Wolves.
United,
yeah, Hartlepool. Now, I watched...
Jeff Stelling. Did you watch that rant?
Yeah, I watched that rant. It was Under the Cosh, wasn't it, on the Under the Cosh podcast. Yeah. Really, really good interview by Dave Jones, and he's obviously said that he wants to get back involved in football, and I think that old style managerial
approach,
ethos might work well to stable a ship there.
Would he? Yeah.
Well, it's whether they'll give him money and whether he'll buy into it, but Yeah, well, listen, best of luck to Morecambe anyway.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about the floodlights first before we talk about the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, that's fine. So this is a story that hadn't made the original script because I picked up on it very, very late, and it concerns Route 1 Rovers. So Route 1, a team that we have a bit of admiration for. They were in the North West Counties last season. I think they finished about 16th or 15th in the league last season. They were subsequently laterally moved over to the Northeast Counties.
Northern Counties East League.
Northern Counties East League, yeah, absolutely. So last night they were playing Armthorpe Welfare, I believe it was, in the domestic league. And they were winning by 3-0 when suddenly a couple of the floodlights were hit by a power outage, and subsequently the game was abandoned about 75 minutes into the game or so. So what Route 1 Rovers are now suggesting that Armthorpe do is pay up initially for the fees to the referee, and are now, I would assume, pushing for that result to stand, particularly given that they were leading 3-0 with 14 minutes to go. There has been a suggestion as well, and photographic evidence, which we're not sure how.
Well, I've seen one picture that showed the fuse box being totally intact and in working condition.
Yeah.
And there's a suggestion now, but with social media, this could be made up, that it was actually sabotaged deliberately.
Yeah, there has been
allegedly.
A suggestion. There's been a suggestion that somebody heard the phrase "kill the lights" being spoken.
I've wanted to do that so many times about that.
Well, exactly.
But I've never done that, and I would never go down that. I think, listen, if they get found out, they could get kicked out of the league, couldn't they?
Could they? Could it go that far?
Well, I think so. Yeah, you could be taken really, really seriously, because it's tantamount to cheating, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is kind of tantamount to.
And we're not suggesting that's the case, by the way.
Yeah,
this is all alleged.
This is all alleged, and it's all speculative. We're just kind of linking it to what's gone on previously.
We don't want to be sued.
No, we don't. We don't want to have to issue another apology. But somebody's claiming it happened to Wakefield last season in the same league. They were at Durn, 2-0 up against 10 men, 70 odd minutes gone. The lights go out. The game is forced into a replay, and that result that Wakefield then lost possibly cost them the title. So it kind of remains to be seen as to what the outcome of the match will be, whether, given Route 1's cruising 3-0 after 76 minutes of play, would be enough for the league to suggest that result should stand, or whether,
because it's come late to us, we don't really know the actual rule on when a result should stand, but we do know that other teams that have been winning 1-0 and they become to the end of the game, they've had to replay their games in full.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the team before, I can't remember who it was.
Me neither.
Can't remember. It doesn't really matter, but
no, it doesn't. So
there is a difference in margin, and that's what I'm saying in terms of 3-0 with, arguably, you can say with 15 minutes to go, there is enough time. Who was it? He used to famously say, Brian Clough used to say, it only takes a second to score a goal.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I suppose if you've got 15 minutes left, you can score 3 goals. You just mentioned it there about a team scoring 3 goals in added on time.
Yeah, FC St Helens did,
FC St Helens. So if I was arguing in my corner, I would be suggesting that, listen, we need to replay that game. As a chairman, you'd argue it. You'd say, listen, there's enough time to recover this. And you'd use that as an example, FC St Helens.
I think it's a perfect example. So, it just remains to be seen, really, doesn't it?
What I have noticed on the socials, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Route 1 Rovers socials themselves have been very, very critical
Oh yeah, they absolutely
I'm sceptical.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now, and the live tweet was Armthorpe have turned the lights off, game halted, the home side needs to pay the electric here, Route 1 still leading 3-0, followed by the referee has called it off after the home side, supposedly, in inverted commas, had an electricity issue. Route 1 were cruising 3-0 when the lights went out. Embarrassing.
And it could all be genuinely true on Armworth. What's the name of the team?
Armthorpe.
Armthorpe Welfare. There could be a logical reason why it happened, and hopefully there is, because I wouldn't like to think that any club would ever do that.
Yeah, you would hope not, wouldn't you? I mean,
I do know a club. I do know a club who had injuries, and I'm not naming names at all. I won't name names, but I do know that they flooded the pitch once prior to a game to get it called off, and they were successful. And the minute that the referee had done his assessment and called the game off, the said groundsman went down to the bottom end of the ground. He literally lifted the plug up, and all the water left the pitch.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Legend in his lifetime. But listen, the least said about that, the better. But apart from that, I think cheating when the actual game is in progress, I think, is a no-no, if that indeed is the case. But listen, we'll move on to the final part of part one, and we'll
really
talk
football, bizarrely.
It's not, but it sort of links in with what we were talking about before, about using offensive language. So we're talking about the Ryder Cup and what went on over the weekend. Now, I don't know whether you're a big golf fan. I tend to switch more on when Rory McIlroy's doing really well, or I was a big Nick Faldo fan back in the day, and I used to watch a lot of golf. There's some characters, Seve Ballesteros and people like that, fabulous characters, and I loved, they were sort of crowd pleasers, a little bit like what you had back in the day when you had Alex Higgins and Jimmy White in snooker. They brought crowds to watch it, and it's happened with the resurgence in darts now with Luke Littler. It's fantastic. But what actually happened in terms of the Ryder Cup? Even I think a beer can was thrown at McIlroy's wife. Hit a hat. Fortunately, she was okay, and she took it gracefully and carried on walking.
Well, you've seen footage of McIlroy shouting obscenities back at the crowd. You've seen who's his golfing partner, who's also Irish. What's his name? I think he was the only one to take a point on his on that last day. I've forgotten his name, and that's going to annoy me now. Yeah,
but what he's basically said, and it sort of links in with football, really, is McIlroy turned around and said, by all means, shout for your own team, but don't shout against another team. And it happens in football. We spend 90 plus minutes watching football where the opposing team are insulting the opposition or the referees, and that's why I've sort of brought it up, because we're never going to eradicate that from the football terraces. No. That's just simply not going to happen. No. I think now that this has started to happen more often in the Ryder Cup and in golf, I think it's something that's going to probably continue. And when the sort of the Ryder Cup comes back over to these shows, it will be interesting to see whether they continue with the same.
But we don't really do that, do we? I mean,
but we do it in football.
We do it in football, absolutely. But golf is a bit more of a graceful game, and it's watched by the kind of people who don't really. They've got more patience. They've got more time.
Do you ever remember the great sort of interactions with Colin Montgomery, and when he was interacting with crowds, and they called him. They called him Mrs. Doubtfire at the time, didn't they? He got some terrible abuse, and he used to dish it back out again. And I think he was quite vocal about what happened at the Ryder Cup as well. Right. But what I'm saying to you is that it's not the main aim to talk about golf. I mean, I played golf a long time ago. I've got a glass back. I thought I was a reasonably good player. My mate turned around and said to me, "Listen, I think what you need to do now is to move on a little bit, is to get some lessons. So I went and had lessons, and when I had the lessons and I started playing golf again, I realised I'd lost my swing completely because I was concentrating on too much. And my golf game went... I don't even know why I'm mentioning that, but sometimes I think that golf is the waste of a good walk now, certainly because I can't hit a ball. But yeah, listen, I was just making the comparison between what happens at football, and once that starts creeping in golf, I think. Listen, we've witnessed it in the Premier League of darts as well.
But darts has always been a massive hotbed for that kind of thing, hasn't it?
But it's never been quite as bad as it is now.
Yeah,
it's become more personalised, hasn't it? I
think all abuse has kind of been more personalised over the years as well, hasn't it? You particularly get it in the cricket. Actually, when the Ashes is on, there's a lot of that. If you go down to Edgbaston in Birmingham, which is usually where the first test is held of the Ashes every single year, that's possibly one of the most febrile atmospheres ever recorded in sport.
What's it called? What they do between them? The two teams, the
Ashes.
Yeah, what do they call it when they're barracking each other?
Slating.
Something like that, isn't it?
Oh God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Sledging.
Sledging.
Yeah, they do a lot of that.
Particularly the English Australians.
No, they do. And I think the Australians kind of give it as good as they get it when we go over there. Justin Langer, who was the head coach of Australian cricket at the time, said there's a line between banter and abuse. When he's playing cricket with his family, there's plenty of banter, but there's no abuse. There's no need for abuse. And I think that's exactly the kind of line that should be towed at, the Ryder Cup, at the football as well. I remember Ben Barnes getting a fair bit of banter from Droylsden fans when we visited them last season, and he took it all in good spirits because that's who Ben Barnes is. However, if you had somebody throwing full cans of beer at Ben Barnes, highly doubt he would be that magnanimous about it at all. There's a line to be drawn between banter and abuse, and I think that line is starting to grey out a little bit. And I think it's really important that football clubs and sporting bodies in particular set the example and the standard for what's expected from fans at this point.
This is just a quick one. I'm assuming that all there's a return to action in all the National League North.
I think even if you haven't got a cup game, you're likely to be playing in the domestic competitions.
Listen, good luck to Southport because they need to start getting some points on board.
Very much so.
Good luck to Lower Breck. That still surprising.
Everyone sitting top of the league.
Sitting top of the league there with Chasetown just
chasing them down.
And Stalybridge. And Bury just sitting in there comfortably.
Bury started to string together a fair few decent results in the last few games. They were about 9th or 10th going into the last couple of weekends, but they're now rocketed their way up to 5th. Shout out to Clitheroe as well.
Because they've had a topsy-turvy start, but they managed to beat Bootle.
They beat Bootle. Yeah, they beat Bootle 1-0. They won their last game before that as well. I think that was against Congleton. They lost against Lower Breck by 3 goals to 2.
No shame at all there.
There is no shame at all in that, and we're starting to see the signs that Sean McConville is building a really decent squad there. They just signed Josh Briggs from FC St Helens, a really exciting bit of talent that I earmarked from his days at Padiham. It was him that opened the scoring 2 minutes into the game against Bootle in a game that they ended up winning by a goal to 0. It was Newcastle Town, that they played last week.
I noticed there they only managed to muster a crowd of 588. Seems that the crowds have come down.
At Clitheroe.
Yeah, they were
That's
touching on
interesting.
around about 800, 900,
Oh,
up to 1,000 at one stage.
I'm not sure. That's interesting.
Mm.
I'm not sure what to make of that. Really. God, we've really got to get Sean on the show, haven't we?
Yeah, we keep saying it. He's a busy man, so
Of course he is. Yeah,
we try again.
Clitheroe making it 3 games unbeaten there by beating Bootle on the back of successive wins against Newcastle Town and Congleton Town to continue a really positive start to the season. Sefton Gonzalez, though, a player who we much malign for being a bit of a name rather than a performer these days, signed for Clitheroe about 3 weeks ago. He's now left and he's signed for Ramsbottom United under Steve Wilkes.
A bit of a coup.
Very much a coup for Ramsbottom. I think he's been there before. I think he knows and understands a relationship with Wilkes, and Wilkes is expecting him to get his fitness up before he starts using him. But if he can get him firing in the correct way, and Sefton's only 33, so he's still got plenty of life in him. That could be absolutely massive for Ramsbottom.
And listen, we don't often talk about Prescott Cables, but Prescott Cables managed a really good victory at the weekend. 1-0 victory over FC United of Manchester in front of a crowd of 909.
Very good, that.
Yeah, I think it's Steve Daly, isn't it? The manager
He
there.
is, yeah.
If you remember the story, he left. Dave Dempsey took the job. Then he ended up going back to Berks.
That was the very first storyline that I knew of in non-league football at this level, just after I joined Skem.
Yeah.
And I remember getting
It was a big story.
It was a big story, and I remember getting the full rundown of it from Lucas Bergquist. And kind of getting to full understanding of just how bonkers this kind of thing is and happens.
I'd love to talk to Dave Dempsey about that. I've had, I asked him to come on the show.
Did you?
Last season when I think he got to his milestone of 100 games in charge. That was a full year in charge of Bearscough Football Club, I think, something like that.
Amazing.
So listen, if you're out there listening, Dave, and you want to come on the show, just let it be known that you're interested.
We'd love to have you on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on the show, but we'd love to talk about the fiasco. Whether you'd want to talk about that or not,
yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. They followed Prescott Cables, just going back to them, they followed up that game against FC United of Manchester with a 0-0 draw away at Whitby Town. So another point added to their haul. That's made it 4 games unbeaten for them.
So on Saturday, the 4th of October, which is coming up quickly, Runcorn Linnets at home to Chasetown in the which division is that?
Northern Premier League's
West.
West, yeah.
Yeah, it is the West, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too sure now.
No, it is Northern Premier League West.
Yeah. So they've
corner against
Bury at away to Darlaston Town.
Okay.
So they'll be hoping to continue their relatively good
positive run. Yeah, 100%.
Good form in there. I'm just looking at where they are in
Bury?
the league. Darlaston, the down by the bottom. So
Darlaston 20th out of 22, Bury a 5th. You would expect
Bury to do it.
Most certainly.
Yeah. Atherton Collieries are away to Mossley. That'll be a difficult game. It always is under a very, very vocal ground at Mossley. Always is a tough place to go, but fairly sort of evenly balanced there in terms of the league. There's not much distance between them, but we're hoping that Atherton will do the business
job
there.
against Mossley. Yeah, most certainly.
And they follow that up, Atherton Collieries with a home game to Nantwich Town. So get 6 points out of the next 2 games.
Possible.
And then they're looking at a really sort of healthy position there. They're not too far behind. They're only 7 points behind the top team. So all to play for Atherton. Then they played a game less than most teams anyway.
Atherton. Oh, yeah. They have. So there's still plenty of time for them to get points on the board. I know we've talked about Cleggy and the disappointment after the LR derby, but his team seemed to have turned a bit of a corner there. I
don't think he'll allow them to do anything
no,
else.
Absolutely not. No, and he'll want them to push up the table. And the thing is, there's still plenty of points to be won in a very kind of clustered environment. A couple of teams drop points around you and you're immediately up about 3 places.
Yeah, and it's early doors as well.
It is very early doors. Plenty of time for him to get his books in order, which we fully expect him to do. Go on, Cleggy.
So listen, this is the end of part 1 of the show.
Oh, actually, just before we end part 1, no, I just want to extend a very big congratulations to our former gaffer, Tommy Lawson, who's gone on board at FC United of Manchester.
I thought we were covering that in the third part. But listen, that's
for crying out loud.
No, it doesn't matter because we could have forgotten about it. But listen, Tommy
Wrote
Lawson.
it in part 1.
Did you? Oh, well,
I did.
That's fair enough. Listen, well done to Tommy.
Yeah.
Had a coffee with him this week. Always a pleasure to be in company with Tommy.
Yes, he's the chief scout. You interrupted me as in was in the middle of that. So he's the chief scout at FC United of Manchester. Talk about your coffee.
Yeah, listen anyway. Yeah, we've come to the end of. I will talk about that in the third part. But listen, we're at the end of part 1.
We are.
In part 2, we'll have
Arron Ripley.
Arron Ripley, the manager of Nelson on the football club of Nelson Football Club. We're delighted to have him on the show.
Certainly are.
In the meantime, listen, we're going away for a commercial break, and we'll see you in part 2. Bye for now.
Bye.
A heartfelt shout out to all the businesses supporting Skelmersdale United Football Club, especially T&W Garners and Pedro de Seda Enterprises. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, lottery bonus ball scheme and the weekly draw in conjunction with NYCBA. A special thanks to those who organise such fundraising events, with a particular mention for the incredible Lee Davis and Rowena Hughes. To everyone who stands by us both on and off the pitch, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or alternatively call me on 077 66054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the second part of the Speaking Frankly football show, and a warm welcome to our special guest today, Arron Ripley, who's the manager of Nelson Football Club. It is pronounced Arron, isn't it? Not Aaron?
Yeah, that's correct, Frank, yeah.
Yeah, just double checking because that many times I've met Aarons or Aarons and been told off, so
it's
just
the
making
other way.
sure.
We don't have any producers or researchers that can tell us this otherwise, so we've kind of got to find out on the fly. We're still a bit tin pot, despite the the professionalism with which we come across.
Well, we'd like to think so.
Well, we'd like to think so. Yeah.
But listen, before we talk about your managerial career, tell us a little bit about yourself and your football history from your playing days onwards.
Yeah, so I'm 31 as we sit here today.
Same age as AJ.
Yeah, 31. So stopped playing at a relatively young age. Didn't play at mega high levels during just local leagues, teams like Erskine Green in the West Lancs. Dipped a little bit into the counties like reserves divisions when Colne and your Darwins had teams back in the Lancashire League, which was, to be fair, it had some good second reserve sides in it. Your Chorleys and those likes. So never really played at high levels, but I always coached alongside whilst I was playing, whether that was Sunday young sides or then progressing through into adult football to where we are today. So from a playing standpoint, I wouldn't say that we'd had a mega long career in the playing days.
Would you say a frustrated footballer makes a better manager, because we obviously look at the likes of Mourinho, who didn't particularly have a great footballing career but became a really, really good coach.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, obviously, I played schools and all the way through there, so I never didn't play football. But for me, it was the golf scene that kind of was the priority. It was the golf scene that was priority for me, especially on a Saturday. Competitions and one thing or another took my golf quite serious. And then the coaching was kind of on Sundays to start with. So footy, it was usually a case of I kind of play a game of footy if I had a free weekend off on the golf, if I'm being honest. So yeah, it was less of a priority when I was growing up than it is today. Put it that way.
But tell us a little bit more about the golf then, because you're still working within the golfing profession, are you?
Well, I'm captain up at Whalley Golf Club this year, which is my local golf club, and that's just coming to an end. So which has been something I really enjoyed this year. Obviously, not really a normal thing that a 31-year-old is a captain of a golf club. So that was, something that I'm quite proud of. And being out of management, so to speak, when the opportunity came around, was perfect timing. But if we just go back a few years, I went to Myerscough, studied golf, which was basically like a sports qualification, but it was very tailored to golf. Took my golf quite serious, and from the school days, and amateur at a decent level, and still play at a decent enough level now. But it's not priority when you realise the money that's involved and the sponsorship and all the rest of it within the golfing industry. I did want to take it as a full-time job, a full-time career, down the professional golf route, albeit whether that was coaching, whether that was local pro, or whether that was on the small tours. But in the end, money and the backing that's needed at that sort of level was just something that I wasn't able to do. So kind of got in the real world and got a normal job, so to speak.
Well, who was it we had on the show? It was Conor Woods' dad, wasn't it?
Dale.
Dale Woods. Do you know him at all?
I don't know.
He's doing pretty well himself on an amateur level, isn't he?
He's a barber, isn't he?
I don't know whether he's.
Dale Wood Senior. Yeah, he's doing amazing at the golf sessions.
I think he won some big amateur tournament.
Yeah, well, he's being coached by Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah,
because he's dating.
There's a relationship there, isn't there?
He's dating Jack Nicklaus's niece, which is an absolutely amazing way in. Yeah. So you got to hang out at Augusta and a couple of absolutely amazing golf courses and just kind of hang around.
He's living the dream, really.
He is absolutely living the dream.
That is the dream.
Exactly. From a golfing perspective, that is absolutely the dream, isn't it? Just to have a house in Florida and just have a bit of a wander around the circuit up there.
Well, listen, amazing. The intention was very much to talk about football, but what did you make of the Ryder Cup at the weekend?
On Sunday afternoon, my heart rate was not too dissimilar to what it is stood in a dugout.
I was
a bit like that myself.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah, it was seriously got a bit tense at one stage. And no, listen, the group there that they've got, it really helped that obviously 2 years prior was a very similar group, obviously led by the same captain. Okay. So there was lots of things that came out of it. I mean, I'm hearing all sorts now since it's over that, the Team Europe were practicing and did something like 10 practice rounds in the 12 days leading up to it, and USA only did 2 9-hole practice rounds. So when Keegan's been moaning about, Europe holding all the putts and all this sort of stuff, and USA not, then people are kind of putting it back on him and saying, well, if you would have been out there, then, there's preparation. And in any sport, isn't it? Preparation's massive.
Well, what did you make of all the so-called banter from the American supporters?
too far for me. That far too far for me. I don't think we wouldn't have got it here. I read somewhere that they'd tried pricing them out of it. You know, like the people who'd come in and just, because I think it was $1,500 a day for a ticket.
Crikey.
And they tried pricing it to keep people who would just come in just to try and get a few more of the purists, so to speak, there, and that didn't happen, did it? It was a little bit too far. The lack of respect there was clear to see.
It's almost football-esque, isn't it, in terms of that kind of delivery? It's just not acceptable at golf's level. But you know what I find in football, when you're in the big stadiums, and I'm an Evertonian, whenever I was sitting in the Park End, I was surrounded by people that were either police officers, accountants, solicitors, and they were the ones that were the more vocal ones, to be fair.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So you're right, really. Pricing people out of it didn't actually work, did it?
No, not at all. And I knew somebody who was out there, who's part of the PGA, on the team and the PGA board over here, and he was out there as working, and he did a video, I think, when John Rahm teed off on the first tee on the first day, and on his backswing, you can hear people in the crowd shouting "shank" mid backswing, and you just would not get that over here. You'd get the stands would go completely quiet, and then they'd just give him a bit of jip as they're walking off.
You just hope that doesn't come back over the Atlantic, does it? When we host them next time.
Well, we're over in Ireland, aren't we? Next time.
Is it Ireland? Is it?
Yeah, at Ayr Manor in Ireland in a couple of years' time, and I think that I'd like to think that we have a little bit more class about us than that, but time will tell.
We'll have to see. Yeah.
Listen, getting back to football then. Listen, so where did you actually start your managerial career? And given the fact that you're so into your golf, was it a tough decision to make?
No, so one of my friends at the time was managing a Lango junior football team. Just a grassroots team, and he didn't have the time to do it, and the team was basically going to fold, and they were under 15s. Well, they were going into under 15s at the time, and I was 18. Was I 18, 19? 18 and 19, and I said, "Go on, I don't want to see that group. They're a nice bunch of lads. I don't want to see that group fold." So I stepped in, took that group, which some of them still play for me now. To be fair, in this Nelson team, and I took that group. I took that group then, and I had them up until I had them for 2 years, and in that time we managed to win Lancashire Cups, and we won some League Cups. Unfortunately, both times we got pipped to the league by losing one game, and that was against the team that won it. They didn't win any, they didn't lose any, and we lost one, and that was the, other than that, we both won all our games, and we had some really good battles that year, them 2 years, and we had a really good side and a team that we knew that if we, the lads could go on to some good things. So it started at Lango. There, and then from there I went to Rymington. Rymington. Yeah, I think I went to Rymington after that. As there in the reserves, managing the reserves. We had some couple of the players we took there, and we managed to win the league and the cup in the first year that I was there. And then after that, I was there for a year in Hurst Green. Then, my old club came and spoke to me and said, "Will you come and manage our reserves?" And at the time, a good friend of mine was the first team manager, and he had a chat with me and just said, I want to really try and bridge the gap between the first team and the reserves, and have this like one club mentality. And I went there, and it was brilliant. I was there for nearly 2 years. We used to train together, and then after training we'd go back to the village pub, and we'd pool all the players together and sit there, and
a lovely village it is as well.
Yeah, and the manager at the time, which is Tom Bartlett, and you might remember him from playing a lot again for Squires Gate, quite a Squires Gate legend.
Yeah.
And Tom would have, say, the 30 names on the table, and Tom would pick his 15, and then I'd be left with the 15 that he didn't pick, and then we'd leave the pub there that night, going and contacting whichever 15 players we were given that week, and it worked really well. It was very much a one club approach, and we played exactly as Tom played. So then anybody that was with the stepping up from the reserves to the first team knew exactly what job was expected of them, and it's something that you don't really see at that level, and it's something you don't really see very often these days in first teams and second teams. They've very much got their own style and their own players, and they're just they're not really together. They're just having two teams for the sake of having two teams, really. So that was really good. Enjoyed that very much, and inevitably, when I did get sacked from Hurst Green, it was because we were constantly playing the same way in terms of how we wanted to be with the first team, and I'd say that's the first time. Even though we did well, I think we finished third in the league, which is the highest reserve league position that they'd finished in a long time, and I think we went the first 10 or 12 games unbeaten, and then we ended up finishing third. It was really good, and that's the first time in having years, the previous 4 or 5 years prior to that, where we were just winning everything, where it was a little bit of obviously a disappointment and something completely new for me to face, of obviously being let go or being asked to step away from a football club, which hadn't happened to me ever before, and a very, very good learning curve for me.
So at which point did you go back to it? Because you took up the manager's role at Nelson back from Rimington. You were manager there?
No, after I left Hurst Green, went and did a bit with Clitheroe's under 23s, and then I went to Padiham with me and Mikey Worthington, who Mikey's at Exton now, and had a short spell at Glossop North End. So it was me and Mikey, Mikey running it and me helping him at Padiham, and then we was helping Mozza out, helping him with a bit of first team stuff then. And we had a really successful time at Padiham as their under 23s. Again, managed to win the Lancashire Cup and win the league. And I think we'd only lost in the couple of years that we were there. I think we'd only lost less than 5 games. It was a really good spell, and that was really good. And then from there, I ended up back at Clitheroe as Billy Priestley's assistant when Billy was player manager at Clitheroe. So Billy was playing and I was just stood in the dugout, and that's when the relationship kind of unfolded with now owner of Nelson, Chris Price, because at the time I was obviously very inexperienced at that level of Clitheroe's level to be stood in a dugout on my own whilst Billy and Gary Stopforth played, and they brought Chris Price in for that period to be assistant manager as well, and that's where I first met Chris. So yeah, Clitheroe was where I met Chris, and then from there, after Clitheroe, I got my first gig as a manager on my own from the North West Counties level at Nelson.
And you had a bit of a battle on your hands when you took up over the role there, because I think they were in a big relegation battle at the time.
Oh, massively so. Yeah, massively so. Chris went down to the ground on Boxing Day to watch them rebake up, and I forgot the chap's name who had the club before now, but he basically said to Chris when he were watching, "Are you interested in buying the club?" Chris thought he was joking, and then he was serious, and before you know it, January came round, and Chris called me and said, I answered the phone, and I just thought he was ringing me for a chit chat, and he said, "Is that my new manager?" And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, I've just taken over Nelson Football Club, and I want you to come in and manage it." At the time, they had to let the manager go, who was doing a very good job under the circumstances. Even though they were in the relegation zone, they had some good players. You like to see Jude Entwistles and Scott Sterling, who's obviously with us now. Luke Keppel was there, and when I got appointed, the lads took it really bad because obviously they had a lot of trust in the manager because they were playing at that level, and I was left with 3 players in a WhatsApp group on I think it was Monday morning. 3 players with a WhatsApp group, 3 players left, and we were playing relegation rivals at the time, AFC Blackpool, on the Saturday. So we had to throw a bit of an open trial session on. Luckily, that Thursday session we had 42 turn up to it. Yeah. We managed to put a team out. We lost the game 3-2 actually, but we managed to put a team out that was competitive on that Saturday, and from there the Nelson journey started, and we managed to stay up with a reprieve. We did get shafted a little bit on the last game of the season when the team I forgot over in who've now moved sideways, they played Berks after Berks had to play Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back games, and they ended up miraculously beating Berks 2-0 somehow, and which then put us from being outside the relegation zone to bottom of the league, and we crossed our fingers and hoped for a reprieve.
Which you got and we didn't, because we were hoping. Our points tally was far lower than yours. I think didn't you have 21 points or something like that, or was it even more?
Yeah, we had something like that, and the finish to the season was really good. I mean, the ground and everything that was happening at Nelson was that bad. The conditions and everything. We ended up hiring Clitheroe's pitch for something like the last 3 or 4 home games of the season. We ended up ground sharing with Clitheroe, even though we had a pitch there at Nelson that was our home. We just couldn't get on it because the pitch had lack of investment and all the rest of it. Just couldn't get it fit and couldn't get it right. So we ended up at Clitheroe for the 3 games. We had a really good finish to the season. We didn't feel like we were the worst team in that league. We definitely didn't feel like it, and we just said to the lads that there is a very good possibility that if we get as many points on the board as we can, that we might not go down. And then in the meantime, while that was all going on, Chris had gotten a partner with Stuart Fort, who was previously at Clitheroe when I was there with Billy, as a partner investor with him at Nelson, and they'd gone 50-50 at the club. So we knew that if we stayed up, we were going to have a right good go at it, and we'd already had that conversation that if we'd stayed up, we're having a go at it, and if we didn't and we got relegated to the West Lancs, then we weren't. It was just about putting a decent side together that didn't pay, and trying to finish in the top 6 and reapply to get back into the North West Counties the year after. So when we got the reprieve, it was all systems go.
Yeah, were you quite daunted by that? And I mean, not only because you now have to give Stuart and Chris a bit of a reflection on their investment, but surely the standards at Nelson were a bit higher after knowing that you were going to get a bit more financial backing.
No, it weirdly, it excited me more. Like I'd kind of already spoken to quite a few players, so I'd already had 6 or 7 players lined up that if we got a reprieve and we stayed up, we were going in for them, and we knew that if we did stay up, we could assemble a really good side. Because although I was not in the managerial ranks at likes of Clitheroe and places like that, I was doing a lot of networking. I was doing a lot of I had a lot of connections around this area, my area, know a lot of footballers, and we're watching lots of football games. So I'd built that little black book up, so to speak, and knew exactly the targets that I were wanting to go and get if if we did get the reprieve.
Well, was that in itself a bit of a challenge for you? I mean, because given your age and, as you say, your lack of experience, you're talking to players like Charlie Frost, Max Kane, Sefton Gonzalez came over for a little bit, Jude Entwistle. I think Billy Priestley ended up joining you as well. Like, how did you get these guys to buy into Nelson Football Club and buy into you?
Well, to be fair, Charlie, we found Charlie. He was just playing at Colne reserves, couldn't get in the first team there. You know, I've got a relationship with Paul Weller, and I said to Paul, "Come on, can we have Charlie?" Billy. Obviously, I was Billy's assistant manager at Clitheroe, so I had that relationship with Billy. And at the time, Billy was at Colne. Spoke to Billy about Charlie, and Billy rated him. But you likes of Jacob Ebder and Jamie and I forgot the lad's name now. He was flying at Altrincham. They was doing really well. They were keeping him out of the team. So we took him and we just give him a bit of confidence. And obviously he's doing really well now, and he did really well for us. So that's why he ended up staying with us for that longer period of time. There was obviously some other clubs that came in, but we'd built that relationship with Charlie, and Charlie trusted us to develop him. So in terms of the other players, you know, Sefton, worked with him at Clitheroe, you know, good friends with him, and I think that's where these relationships have come on the back of from friendships that were built at these clubs and being in the local area, I'd say. So yeah, when we got the gig, it was trying to get the names on paper as quick as we could.
So listen, you get the reprieve. You've managed to have a good pre-season, building the squad back up again. But 4 months into the 2024-25 season, you're being given the boot, so to speak. And here's what you had to say about it at the time. Gutted to be sacked this afternoon as manager of Nelson. Came in last January with a big task on our hands, survived relegation, then this season built a league challenge inside. Playoffs was the target, and be top 3 at Grimbo. We'll try and win the league if we can. Saturday, second with 13 games to go and a favourable run in. We're on course to hit those targets. So you played 25, won 18, drawn 1, lost 6. Your win percentage is 72%. No explanation given other than they felt it was time for a change. I really hope this group can achieve what we set out to do in July, and wish them all nothing but the best. You handled it really well, if I'm honest about it. But you obviously didn't agree with the decision at the time. Did you ever get that explanation when you come back?
We've had some difficult words in leading up to coming back. We've had some very honest conversations, and coming back was out of the blue, to be fair, which I'm sure we'll touch on in due course. But yeah, at the time, it was all a bit random. It was all a bit sudden. You know, the Tuesday prior to me getting sacked on the Monday, we'd just gone to Southport in the Lancashire Cup quarter-final on their own turf when Jim Bentley was manager, and absolutely battered them on their own pitch, and we drew the game, but they took their lad to score an absolute screamer from just inside his own half towards the end of the game to level it up, and then we lost on penalties. Obviously Lancashire Cup goes straight to penalties, and all bar, I think, 3 of their lads, they had a full strength side out, and they ended up going on to win the Lancashire Cup that year, actually. And we played them off the park. We were brilliant. We were absolutely brilliant. And at the time, you know, the owners came into the dressing room after, and we were very, very proud of the lads. And we rolled on to Exton Villa away on the following Saturday, and Exton Villa had just had their new 4G unveiled, and amazing facility, and they were very good. They were unbeaten at their ground. They were very good. They know how to play it, and we knew it would be a difficult game, and we didn't. We lost the game. Probably in that game, Charlie at the time wasn't firing, and we put him on the bench. Might that change the game? Who knows? Who knows if we would have started him? Maybe that might have made a difference, but we don't know. We'll never know, I suppose. And we lost the game 2-1. And then on the Monday, I just got a phone call saying, "Can you meet me? Can you meet me at the local Starbucks to my works in Blackburn?" Went over and they just said, "We feel like it's time for a change, and we're going to let you go." And I said, "What's the change?" And they went, "To give your assistant manager it." So all the backroom staff and all the and everything, all the players didn't change, just apart from me, which was the most difficult bit to stomach, I'd say. If they come in and said, at the time, we feel like a change is needed, and they made wholesale changes, I could have really understood it, so to speak, because the 6 games that we had lost were against the teams in and around us. But as you know, that year, Frank, when you were there with Skem, we'd put some really good runs on the board, and we knew that it was all about. We knew it was all about just the consistency. If you win 5 and you lost 1, regardless who you lost to, we knew we'd be thereabouts at the end of the year.
Well, we played you early on in the season at your place, and we lost 6-0, and we felt as though at that particular time that you were definitely promotion candidates.
I remember having the interview with Tommy afterwards, and he said he believed he'd seen the champions elect. At the time, so it's obviously some really high praise from a man who knows what he's talking about there. So was the sacking kind of very out of the blue for you, or did you feel like the defeats were more costly than what they seemed on paper?
No, I did feel like it was out of the blue. If I'm honest, I did feel like it was out of the blue because we'd had a couple of meetings prior to training and stuff the few weeks before, and there was no warnings, we need to start winning some of these games against the bigger sides, or we need to be better against the bigger sides, or whatever it is. There was none of them, and part of the bit that I was obviously gutted about as well is that we had 6 weeks to assemble that squad that we did. Not only that, there was probably 3 of us at the club at the time, volunteers wise. So whilst you're trying to assemble a squad in pre-season, I had to pick the kit we were wearing, help with the stuff down at the ground, with changing rooms and facilities, and it was pretty much a full-time job, like mucking in and collating wages for the lads and helping lads get paid on time. And
we had Lee Hill on the show, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago?
Hill,
and he was in exactly the same position, cleaning kits and doing everything above and beyond the manager's job, and yet get sacked. And listen, I'm a fine one to talk because we've had to make a decision ourselves in recent weeks, and there are 2 sides to it. One would assume, and it's a tricky conversation to have with you, but do you feel as though Jerry Harrison was plotting against you, and that's probably one of the reasons why you lost your job?
No, I don't, to be honest. I still speak to Jez, and if you put a few things together, people might think otherwise. Jez wasn't. I didn't necessarily go out and say, "Jez, I want you to be an assistant manager." The owners, we were looking to get an assistant manager, and the owners recommended him to me on the back of Paul leaving Colne, and said, "Jerry's looking for a club. Would you be open for a chat with him?" And your Billies and Ryan Boltons and everybody who'd worked with him at Colne couldn't speak highly enough of him. And when I spoke with him, he said to me, ironically, he did say to me, "I'm not a manager," which ended up being a little bit ironic. But he said, "I'm not a manager, I'm a coach," and this, that, and the other. And it worked. Came in and worked, and we did get on really well. And do I ever think he was plotting it? No, I don't, if I'm honest. And that might be me sat here now. Only he'll ever know, which I'm sure. I'm pretty positive he wasn't planned for him to step in. I just think that with Chris and Stuart not really knowing the non-league scene, ins and outs, then I think it was just more of an easy option than to put out a tender process application process to get a new manager and go through interviews. I think they thought that Jerry could just bring something new in, and I believe from when I did leave that shape was a bit of an issue. I think at the time they weren't really too impressed with me constantly playing a back three. But again, for me, like, whether I'm stubborn or not, like, I was the manager of the football club at the time, and if we're winning games, we could play. You know, for me, we could play 10 up front or 10 at back. It don't really matter. The formation shouldn't matter, really.
So listen, he's carried on the good work. You put a lot of effort in. Was it around about November, end of November, when you lost the job? He's managed to go on finishing second place, not too far behind the top place, but eventually beaten in the semi-finals against the eventual winners, Exton. So I know he's had a difficult start to the season, 2 losses and 1 win, and then he's been replaced by you again. You've come back to the club, and you really couldn't write it, really. Explain that a little bit and how that came about.
It was very random, to be fair. So since I'd left, like I said to you before, I'd formed a friendship with Chris, and since I'd left, I'd not spoken to him. Since I'd left the club, we didn't, we shook hands on the car park of Starbucks when I handed all the stuff over, and then that was the last time I'd spoke to him. And then I just got a phone call out of the blue off him and just said, can we settle the dust, this, that and the other? We did. We moved on from it, and then about a week later, they'd announced that they'd let Jerry go, and would I be interested in coming in and having a chat about potentially coming back? So I was like, at the time, it was very out of the blue. I was a bit, didn't really know what to make of it, because some people could say once bitten, twice shy, that sort of thing. And I had a chat with my wife about it, and she thought I was bonkers, so I knew it was the right decision to go and have a chat with you.
Did you expect sort of reassurances from Chris at that point?
Well, no, it's all a little bit strange, if I'm honest, because they asked me for a chat. I had a chat with them, and then they asked me to apply for the job.
All right.
So like,
that's bizarre.
Yeah, they asked me to apply for the job, so I said, well, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to write an application to say I was the manager in Nelson and now I want to be the manager in Nelson? I said, that doesn't really, it sounds a bit random. So in the end, I just sent him an email. And then I believe there were 4 people that got interviewed for it on the Sunday. I went down first, just put a little bit of a presentation together, and I know the players from the group that was there prior that I left to the group that was there then. There was only 2 additional players from me being there, and that was Luke Eppel and Scott Sterling, both of the 2 players that we discussed about potentially signing in that November time from AFC Blackpool, because we felt like we were just missing a little bit of summer, and Luke was obviously up the goal scoring charts, and Scotty played really well both times we played against him. So the group of 20 or the group of 18, so to speak, was practically still my group, and we went through that process, and then they rang me, I think on the following Wednesday, and said, we want you to come back in.
Blimey.
So Chris felt like he made the right decision by sacking you, and then he makes the right decision again by bringing you back. But how difficult does that make the job for you, knowing that you've been put in that position before? Do you feel confident enough at this sort of in your current tenure that you've got a little bit more a bit more stock value with the chairman?
Time will tell, I suppose, on that. Like we had a few conversations, obviously, like I mentioned to previously, about going back in and a few things that if I did come back in, I'd do different. I want to do differently, and I need them to agree to for me to come back in. One of them being it 100% has to be my own coaching team. That was obviously definitely one which I think is massively important for me. And then others were basic things like regular meetings and bits like that. And there'll be some other stuff as well that we talked about. Obviously, we'll stay within that room and things that had to be said. Otherwise, it would have the previous tenure would have never got settled. And time will tell. Obviously, the first 3 games since my announcement were the crucial ones for the noise for me.
Well, listen, obviously Chris has made a good decision, really, because you've come back to the club and you've won 8 consecutive games since you return, and you sit in third, so it's looking really good at the moment.
Yeah, when we went back in straight away, you could see the group were really happy to have us back. I'd been keeping an eye on not just Nelson, but obviously the local non-league scene in the area, so it wasn't as if I hadn't seen Nelson play and knew what I could see wasn't going well, and what I could see where the strengths were. So when I went back in, I already had my idea set out on what changes I instantly wanted to implement to the group, and obviously they'd conceded 11 goals in the 3 games prior to me going in, and making sure that didn't happen in terms of conceding was number one priority. And I knew that if we were a little bit harder to beat and the lads got the confidence back, because they're all fantastic footballers, that I knew that it'd turn around pretty quickly. Unfortunately for us, it has.
It certainly has. I mean, even up front as well, you obviously were devoid of Charlie Frost this time around. He's moved on to Hyde United, but you did manage to get the signing of Luke Keppel over the line, which is the one that you were wanting, as well as his brother Nick, which is obviously a bit not quite as successful as he's now had to leave. But also Scott has come over from AFC Blackpool. How big of an influence have those signings had on the side's fortunes being turned around?
Yeah, like I said, Jez did sign them in pre-season, and obviously we'd had an eye on them previously. And when I went in and knew that I was going to be working with lads like that, then I obviously wasn't disappointed in doing so. Otherwise, they probably still won't be at the club, because we did have to make some difficult decisions going in. I mean, I let a couple of lads go before I'd even introduced myself to the group. If I'm being completely honest, they were expecting. I just put a little WhatsApp message in the group after being put back in, saying I'll give you all a call individually, and some people got calls that they probably weren't expecting. So, but that's football. Nothing personal, never will be, and just something that you've got to do. And Scott and Luke brought something to that group that was probably missing. They were a very nice group. They needed a little bit of bite, and they needed a little bit of bite, and them two definitely bring that.
Yeah, most certainly do. Yeah. So now that you've kind of got yourself back into the hot seat, and you've had your opening kind of 8 games where you're winning all of them, and you've got a bit more of a higher bar to go to now. What's the target this season?
There is only one target, and that's to get out of the division.
Yeah.
That is 100% the target, and it was the target last year. And there was no, we didn't make any bones about that last year, and we haven't made any bones about it this year. People mention budgets, and people mention this, that, and the other, and it is what it is. There's a target to set, and that's to get out of the division. Obviously, playoffs is, as we've seen, and as you see in every division in football, playoffs always don't necessarily go the way of the second place team. Yeah, so winning the division has to be the priority, and the pressure of that is something that we enjoy, and you've got to enjoy. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the position we're in at the level, at the club with the ambitions that they've got. You wouldn't take it on in the first place. So definitely that. Cup runs. They're obviously something that are a bit of a nice to have, if we're being honest. The cup runs have always been a little bit of a what's the word, like touchy subject. Not really touchy subject. I don't know a better word for that. But at Clitheroe, inevitably, when we were there with Billy, we went on a brilliant FA Cup run in it, and we ended up 6 games. We ended up having 6 games in hand. And you're looking at the table going, we've got 6 games in hand, but we're only 9 points away from top of the league. And you don't win your games in hand, and then the boot inevitably comes after, at that time I think there was over £80,000 in prize money to Clitheroe, with the run that we went on, beating you like just Spennymoor and all the rest of it. So, and essentially Dave Jones nearly had that same issue last year with having such a good FA Vase run.
Yes, he did.
If Nelson beat Darwin away at Darwin, I'm absolutely adamant to this day that if Nelson win that game, then Nelson win the league, because it would have put another game in hand on the board behind for Everton LR, and it would have been a bit of a mountain to climb for him, and that was all on the back of nearly reaching Wembley. It's a bit mental, isn't it?
And the rest.
Listen, you coined a new phrase, didn't you? New manageritis. After the game against Daisy Hill. They'd not long appointed Nicky Hunt, but you'd not been long back yourself. Is there a feeling that you're pretty much in that honeymoon period, and bearing in mind that I'm trying to be really tactile here, but how do you cope with rejection in football? Because obviously you got the sack, you've come back to the club. And you are in that honeymoon period. Is the pressure, even at this level, is it enormous?
The pressure, if with a team that you're trying to win the league, the pressure is big. Definitely is. I think for me personally, professional development, I'm my own worst critic. I get home. Mrs. thinks that I'm coming home on a Saturday night to enjoy it with her, when really I'm sat here thinking about the subs I made, when I made them, timings, whether the right one, did we set up right, we have every team analysed before we play, and we have match reports done. We have a guy who goes and watches every game, and did we set up right? So that's whether we win 5-0. Draw or lose, and I think that's massively important, even in the moments of rejection. Like, why did I get rejected? Why did I get sacked? What caused it? Because obviously somebody wasn't happy about something. So I definitely, my self-evaluation is something that I'm massive on, and something that I think is massively important if you're gonna go again. Whether that was back at Nelson or whether that was my next job, wherever I applied, and would have been fortunate if I would have been fortunate enough to get a gig elsewhere.
Yeah, most definitely. So, how are you dealing with the pressure at the moment? Or does it not feel like there's any pressure because you're winning?
No, I enjoy it. To be honest, I enjoy it. I think it's been. In every sport I've played, obviously in the golf and the levels and what have you, we've always been in a stressful environment. The stress doesn't change. It just the levels change, I would say. So yeah, enjoy it. I think the stress levels reduce and the pressure reduces when you're putting the hard work in yourself. I think, if I were just turning up on a Thursday, coaching the lads, rocking up on a Saturday and not doing anything in between, I think you rightly so, would have every right to feel the pressure of more. But with the amount of hours that I put in, and the amount of hours and the due diligence that I go through, I don't really feel the pressure. I just hope that the hard work, you get rewarded for your hard work, and if I don't, and it's not to be, then it's not to be. But at least I can turn around and say that it wasn't through want of trying.
Who impresses you in that league at this moment?
Droylsden are always impressive. They're an impressive side. Holker have been the same style of Holker since I've known the counties, since I've been watching the counties, and they're up there. They're a very solid side. The thing is with Holker, I find myself checking results on a Saturday afternoon and going, how have you lost that game? And I think if they didn't lose the ones that they're on paper supposed to win, I think they would have been up there in the top two for the last couple of years.
We spoke to their manager last season, didn't we? And I think he said they struggle away from home. They're okay at home. They can get a decent crew of lads together for home games, but they struggle a little bit on the away games.
Yeah, they do. I believe that this year they've formed a bit of a partnership with Workington, which is obviously going to help them. They're going to get some of their lads who are just on the fringes. So I don't know if that, because I believe the Workington managers new from the one they started with at the start of the season. So I don't know if that anything's changed there since that partnership, since that managerial change. But they've only got a certain pool of players up there, and when they're all kind of fishing out the same pond, and if lads are doing well at Holker, then inevitably Workington will come and have a look and try and take them off them, and because of the area, then they'll struggle to keep repeat. Although there is a lot of West Lancs sides up there, that's probably where they go and look to recruit their players. So they do a very good job, the two gaffers there for the resource they have. But I'd say they're the main two that have impressed me. I was impressed with Thornton Cleveland's, if I'm honest.
They've been a bit of a shock, sort of.
We didn't really expect that from them, did we?
We didn't expect it at all, no.
No, particularly when they've got a bit of a pool of talent kicking around in that area. You've got your AFC Blackpool, you've got your Garstang, you've got your Squires Gate, all kind of hanging around over there, and Thornton Cleveland's have kind of come from nowhere a little bit there, haven't they?
Yeah, they were always good in the West Lancs when we used to play them first green, and when we used to manage against them first green, they were very good, and then they got the investment from moving the pitch. I think the housing company bought their pitch and relocated them, and that gave them a really good foundation then to build on. I think last year they averaged 300, which was
they're getting
amazing.
fairly decent crowds now, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're doing things right, and they're trying to do it right, and they're building infrastructure and one thing or another. But they were just a side that really knew what they were all about when they played us on that. I know it was my first game back in on that day, and we managed to nick a late winner, but they did cause us some real problems. They were big side. They all knew the jobs. They made many repeat runs that has obviously been coached into them, and I think that was the most impressive thing about them, is that they all knew exactly where they needed to be.
Yeah, very much so.
Listen, there is an assumption, isn't there, that the Nelson have one of the biggest budgets, if not the biggest budget in the league. Is that a bit of a burden, or if it's true, does that help in terms of your recruitment?
No, we probably are up there. If I'm being honest, Frank, I'm not one to play it down. We're probably in the top three budgets in that division. I have cut it since I've come back in. I have reduced it because I felt, I've spoke with the club, and the gate numbers aren't quite where they were last year, and we're still trying to discover that in terms of, were people just coming to have a look first year at the changes that had been made to the club, or was it the poor start to the season that's dropped the gate numbers? Time will tell. Obviously, we had 6 away games on the bounce, so we won't really know what our gate numbers are like. But I think we've got 4 of the next 5 are at home, so let's see what the numbers are like there. But we aren't getting the numbers that we want to be. We want to get down to the Daisy Arena at the minute, and we're looking to increase that, and that's the harsh realities of the discussions that we've had with some of the lads, and every single one of them has been brilliant about it. And if the crowds keep increasing, then it's a different conversation to have with the group.
Very much so. But Where you're based in Nelson, it's a bit of a non-league hotbed, isn't it? Because you've got Darwin, not too far away. You've got Bacup, Padiham, Colne, Clitheroe, kind of all in and around that immediate catchment area. Has it always been like a bit of a difficulty for Nelson to kind of bring in the big crowds and establish themselves as a bit of a heavyweight in non-league football over that way?
Yeah, massively so, and Nelson itself is a very Asian community, which is they love the cricket, don't they? So I bet if you go down to the Nelson Cricket Club on a weekend, it'll be a lot busier than the football club, and that's just the geographical location we're in. Like you say, we've got some very good non-league clubs nearby, and we've got to try and be clever about that with some of our games. I think we play, is it MSB?
Walton,
who are in the league. I think we've playing them on a Wednesday night, just because if there's other, your Padihams and your Ramsbottoms and teams like that are at home, then it gives the football fanatics a chance to watch 2 games in 2 days, as opposed to really pondering which game to pick. Within a 10-mile radius, there's 5 North West Counties games to pick. So we're trying to do things a little bit different as well to try and increase the numbers. But it isn't easy. It definitely isn't easy, and that's something that is part of the reason why we do want to try and get out of the league as quick as we can. Because you step up a level, or even a level above that, you're getting teams that are visiting you with travelling numbers, and in the league we're in now, you don't get that. I would say 99% of the people in grounds are home fans. The 1% are the committee members from the away teams. So you don't get the away followings that you do in especially in your Clitheroe's league.
Yeah, certainly don't. So with that in mind, then, have you had discussions with Chris about how to make Nelson bigger and how you're gonna achieve it both on and off the pitch? Because surely you yourself have got a much more of a personal interest in how Nelson can get bigger off the pitch, given how much time and effort you've put into it.
Oh, 100%. And I don't just turn up just to do the football, as I've mentioned to you before. When Chris spoke to me and first brought me into the club, we've managed to bring in Kieran, who owns Thunder, which is a huge sports coaching company in Lancashire, and he has a play centre in, I think it's in Briarfield, in between Nelson and Burnley, and he's come in and he's brought his marketing team in, and they're gonna have a real good go at getting people in, whether that's free tickets, whether that's marketing campaigns, however it is that they're gonna keep somebody like Kieran who's got the experience of marketing and knows how to get people through the door. We're going to lean on him a little bit, because there's not a great group, a great number of volunteers within the Nelson Football Club. We've got a few volunteers who do many jobs, and with something like marketing and getting other people to come down to the ground, it takes a lot of hours and a lot of time investment to do it.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Along with Darwin, I think Nelson have always intrigued me, because both in many ways a sleeping giant. Both Nelson and Darwin, former Football League clubs. I think the last time you played in the Football League was 1930-31, so it's getting on close to 100 years, but the club has never really kicked on further than the North West Counties. I think you spent one year in the North West Counties Premier Division. Can the club get any bigger, and can the marketing team use that sort of rich history, that pedigree that you had in the Football League as an example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the facilities now down at the place are phenomenal. They really are 2 leagues minimum above where we're at, and that was part of my discussions when I went in for my chat with them. Is that I think that the football club and the football team have to stay in sync as they progress. At the moment, I feel as though the football club has overtaken the football team. And roll back 12 months when we signed your Billy Priestleys and Tsffs and everything else, the team was ahead of the ground at that stage whilst all the works were ongoing, and I genuinely feel as though the club's ahead of the team now, and we've got a really vital role to play to catch up, to match the standard of the club with everything that they're doing. You know, as we speak now, we've got changing rooms being really kitted out at home, and the home ones got done in pre-season, but the away ones there, so Fullwood will turn up on Saturday to brand spanking new changing rooms. We've got new food trucks going in, we've got a new veranda to offer a better match day experience, where you can watch the game under a cover with no break in the rain to go for a beer or go for some food. All these things, they're just trying to make the match day experience as good as it can be, and we need to make sure the football's as good as it can be, and at some stage the club are going to say, right, enough's enough with what we've done at the ground now. We feel as though we're a counties prem / northern prem West Division standard facility. The team need to replicate it, and that's my mission, and that's my aim to do for the group.
Listen, I've always had a soft spot for Nelson, particularly due to the executive boxes that exist on one side of the ground. By that I mean the row of terraced houses. Are there any plans to block that view off? I always thought to myself, if it was gonna be chairman of another football club, I'd love to be chairman of Nelson, so I could have one of those houses.
Yeah, I think eventually, obviously, there's a couple of bits of not loopholes, but little standards that you have to meet in terms of, we've got that bit of scaffolding fencing up that segregates and kind of encloses the full ground as it is now. But eventually something will have to go there, whether that's just a permanent fence or whether that's a stand or whatever else it may be. That needs to happen on that side. I think it's small steps with the people who live there. You know, 90% of the people who live on that row of terraces are absolutely brilliant and support the football club. Both, you know, when there's a game on and when there's not, in terms of, you know, overseeing the pitch and the facility and making sure there's no damages and all the rest of it. But we do have the odd couple that are difficult. You know, we have to be careful when we play music and all the rest of it. So we do have our challenges with that, but eventually something will have to give, and discussions will have to be had on that side.
Whether that be moving out of that particular ground and moving somewhere better or bigger.
I don't think so. I just can't see that with the investment that's been put in, not only to the pitch but the actual facilities, with all the infrastructure that's been put into the place now. I think there just have to be some sort of compromise with the neighbours that aren't as happy.
or do what Liverpool did and make it compulsory purchase order, take buy all the houses and knock them down and build a big stand there.
That'd be the dream.
There we are.
Listen, you're doing a fabulous job there. Best of luck for the rest of the season. But you've got Fullwood amateurs back in the league on Saturday. How difficult is that going to be, bearing in mind you played them last Saturday and managed to beat them on penalties?
Yeah, massive admiration for Fullwood. Like I say, when I was playing at Erskine Green and managing there, Fullwood were obviously a West Lancs side. So to see where they were when I used to turn up and slide tackle over golf balls, because the pitch used to be a shared golf driving range, and they used to shut the driving range at 12 o'clock and pull the goalposts out, and it turned into a football pitch at 3 o'clock. To see where they are now, it's phenomenal over there. But obviously back there on Saturday, and the club have come on leaps and bounds, and I'm sure they are definitely a club over the next couple of years that you'll be talking about on your show a lot. and the progression that they'll have. But in terms of the team, we did have a few, should we say, square pegs in round holes at the weekend through to illness and injuries. We'll be a lot stronger at the weekend, back at home. We obviously you can do your homework as much as you want on teams, but if you've never played them before or don't really know the individuals, then it's always better once you've played them once. So we're confident. We felt as though we were nowhere near at it at the weekend, and they played really well. So hopefully, if we can be bang at it at the weekend and play as well as we know we can, then I'm really hoping that we'll come out winning the game. But it's
I think you said before, it can either be a blessing or a pain in the backside. Can it be the cup games? But you probably learnt more through that, being under strength and like you say, observing the opposition, face to face.
Yeah, and that's definitely obviously something that we've got to see firsthand at the weekend, and they were good value for money with Fullwood, and I'm sure it'll be very difficult for us on Saturday. But I just think that if we apply ourselves and we kick on from the first whistle, then I think in 1 to 16, I think we've got a strong squad, and I think we can win the game.
Brilliant. Listen, best of luck for the rest of the season. I'm pretty sure you'll want to go one better than Jerry last season and win that title outright, and not have to go through that lottery of the playoffs. So good luck, and listen, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Arron.
No problem. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, gents.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye now. A heartfelt shout out to all the businesses supporting Skelmersdale United Football Club, especially T&W Garners and Pedro de Seda Enterprises. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, lottery bonus ball scheme and the weekly draw in conjunction with NYCBA. A special thanks to those who organise such fundraising events, with a particular mention for the incredible Lee Davis and Rowena Hughes. To everyone who stands by us both on and off the pitch, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com, or alternatively call me on 077 66 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the third and final part of the Speaking Frankly football show, and thank you very much to our special guest in part 2, Arron Ripley. What a really, really good interview.
What a good dude. Yeah, he's clearly gone back to Nelson with a bit of an agenda to take the club a bit further than what he did the last time. And
very much a point to prove?
Absolutely a point to prove, yeah. And the weird thing is that he's talking about this with so much experience and maturity. It's easy to forget that he's actually 31, the same age as me. And
we didn't really hit on his sort of youth, if you like, and how he deals with egos, because we've spoken to Dave Jones about that before from Atherton LR.
We have.
Because he's a lot younger. He's almost like a teenager compared to the...
It was Dave's birthday the other day, on 30th of September.
Yeah,
I think he turned 26.
Yeah,
exactly. So, and they won. 2-0 against Glossop. So, happy birthday, Dave.
And listen, on the flip side of that, we're talking about Glossop North End, but we'll speak about that later.
We will, yeah.
Because they seem to be a little bit resurgent, and then they've had back-to-back defeats, albeit against Atherton LR. You can't really
argue against that one. They're just a different gravy at the minute, aren't they? Weirdly enough, they're one of only three teams within the Premier Division who haven't drawn a game. 11 games, 7 wins, 4 losses.
Yeah, well, we held a particular record, didn't we? A couple of seasons ago, where we had a big run of we'd not had a draw for. Crikey, I can't remember how many games it was now. Yeah. So I need a statistician that'll tell me all of this.
I mean, we're still on that kind of run now, aren't we? Because we drew a game just under a year. Yeah, about a year ago, we drew against
Route 1 Rovers.
Route 1 Rovers. That was our last draw. It was 2-2.
But listen, getting back to Arron Ripley, what did you make of it? Listen, fantastic guy, fantastic interview.
Yeah.
Doing a really good job.
So far,
In terms of the pressure, I know he says he doesn't feel pressure because while he's winning, he won't. But then there'll be that dark cloud in his head 100%. Saying to, what's the chairman thinking? He'll lose a couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how they've managed to patch up that kind of relationship because it's really not
like
easy.
Friends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really, like, judging from what happened between Lee Hill and Aaron Hunt, that bridge seems to have collapsed completely, and you don't really envisage it being rebuilt anytime soon. Whereas between Chris Price and Arron Ripley, somehow that bridge seems to have been built. And I don't know whether it was because Chris had the ulterior motive of eventually bringing him back to the club, or whether he just wanted to be friends for the sake of being friends. But somehow they've learned to be friends again. But then Aaron's learned to trust Chris again enough to the point where he feels like he can go back to Nelson.
Well, he did say that there was certain parts of the conversation that will remain in the room.
Yeah, of course.
Which is honourable, which is really honourable.
Inevitable.
I am of that school of thought that no chairman gets rid of a manager for no reason at all. There has to be a reason. To the chairman, it's the right reason. Do we always do the right... Make the right decision.
You've already said no. We don't always.
We don't always, but we don't know whether we're making the right decision or not. We feel as though we're making the right decisions at the time, and I think
perspective is everything, really, isn't it?
Certainly with our our latest departure, I felt as though we've done the right thing for the right reasons, and anybody that sort of is involved in that situation will know. Will know it was done with a little bit of not so much sympathy, but
reluctance.
With anything, I don't know whether I said it in the last show, but if it had been 12 months later on, then Nick might have fared better in that position. He had too much going against him. And listen, people don't want to dwell on it, so I'm not going to dwell on it at all. But it's really, really difficult to talk about managers and chairmans and sackings and that without broaching the subject yourself, because I often get it up on social media. People will turn around and say, "And Frank, go on, what's happening there? You're talking crap, aren't you, lad?" But listen, we said about that the better. But listen, we are we going to talk about? Are we going to do the fixtures and our predictions? Or are we going to go to Skem United first?
Fixtures and predictions, I think.
Fixtures and predictions. So, okay, we're in the North West Counties.
We are. We do like the North West Counties. So there's a game actually kicking off right as we speak. In fact, there's a couple of them. So we won't find out the results until after the episode has come out.
This could be a really crucial result for AFC Liverpool, given the fact that they've won 3 games on the trot now, and to get themselves out of that bottom 2.
It could be a false dawn. It may be the start of something amazing, but it's if they're going to do it, they're going to do it in probably one of the most intimidating places on the North West Counties spectrum, really, and that is West Didsbury and Chorlton. Again, known for a bit of a hostile, loud atmosphere, the Step Places Stadium. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, West Didsbury not particularly set in the league alight.
No.
They haven't had as good a start as they did last season.
Certainly not.
They're in 9th position as we speak. 19 points out of those 11 games. They're 9 points off Padiham, who are at the top, but Padiham are on a different level at the moment, let's be honest about it.
And the rest.
Yeah, so I with that thinking in mind, I'd like to see AFC Liverpool continue that good form, but I'm going for West Didsbury.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah.
Okay, so that's but we're jumping ahead of the gun here, aren't we? Really? Oh no, we're not, because this is tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, this is tonight. Yeah.
So AFC Blackpool versus Ashton Town. AFC Blackpool not doing particularly well, but Ashton Town topsy turvy.
Ashton Town are a little bit topsy turvy at this point, but
I'm still going for them.
I am, just because I think Kev will have sent a rocket up the backsides of his players after they, lost that game against City of Liverpool, a game that they really should have won if they were going to exercise any kind of credentials as being playoff hope candidates. That was a game that they should have won.
Right, Premier Division, Saturday, 4th of October. Abbey Hay versus Exton Villa.
Oh, you'd be minded to say Exton Villa on this one.
Yeah, I'm going along with that. And pretty quickly, the quick turnaround. Atherton LR versus AF.
Can't really see anything but a home win there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We're following each other there.
Yeah.
This is a huge fixture, because this is landlords versus tenants.
Yes, it is the community ground derby.
And we're expecting a fairly... I would imagine it would exceed the 300 barrier this game.
I expect it will exceed 70. So it's Burscough versus City of Liverpool.
Yeah, we need to mention that.
The two sides whose home is the community ground stadium over in Burscough there. Burscough having had a really strong start to the season, a couple of results that have not exactly gone their way, whereas City of Liverpool, who's had a really difficult start to the season but are now starting to pull a couple of results together. Nonetheless, I do still think that will be a Burscough victory.
Well, I'm actually going to go for a draw.
Right.
Believe it or not. So Charnock Richard versus FC St Helens. I think FC St Helens.
Belter of a game, that one, but I do think FC St Helens will just about make it over the line there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Glossop North End versus Chadderton. This is the wrong time of the season to be playing a team that's really, really in good form. That said, Chadderton... doing really well in cup competition, so they're a couple of games behind the leading pack. So they've won 5, drawn 1, lost 3
of 9 games. So they played less games than anybody else in the division. 2 wins out of the handful of games that they've got in hand on the teams above them will send them right back up into the top 5.
Well, I'm going to go for Glossop, but I know you're going to go for Chadderton.
No, I've gone for a draw, and I'm letting my heart rule my head on this one. If my head had it his way, he would be saying Chadderton all the way. But because of the support that we've got for Glossop and Richard, I want them to draw.
Now, moving on to one, and listen, I'm going to be quite controversial on this one, but Remy...
They're not going to win this game. They're not going to win this game.
No, well, let's talk about the teams first. So,
right, so
it's Lither than Remy versus Padiham.
In translation, it's top against bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my controversial point was I think Padiham might push for double figures in this game.
Oh, there it is. That's much more sensible.
Yeah, and I don't really like to say that, because one of our ex-players is...
it's a regular starter for the Lither than Remy in their defence.
Yeah. I've just got a feeling Padiham are just on a different level.
They are on a bit of a different level. They're not... It's a bit of a strange one, because I know that they've had 1 or 2 games when they've been particularly high scoring, but they're not the highest goal scorers in the league. And to be fair, they are sort of close to the top, but not by that much. So Ramsbottom are ahead of them. Earlham are ahead of them.
But they don't concede a lot of goals either,
Pilks are ahead of them. Okay. West Didsbury and Chorlton are level with them. But no, they have the best defensive record in the division. Only 10 goals conceded, a number that's only matched by Atherton LR. So
defensively, much sharper.
They're not going to concede.
Remy, in comparison to that, minus 19 goal difference. They've only scored 8 games in 13 8 goals in 13 games.
Yeah.
They've conceded 27. They're going down very much the route that Skem were when we were in the Premier Division.
Yeah, oddly enough, the
seasons ago.
27 goals that they've conceded isn't the worst in the division. And it's Barnoldswick, City of Liverpool, and FC Isle of Man all have concession rates worse than them. And even South Liverpool, who we've talked about constantly is doing this, have conceded 25 despite being in 11th place.
You couldn't write that one, could you?
You really couldn't. It's just so weird. But anyway, I don't think it's going to be a 10-0, but I think it will probably be about 5. So
you're going Paddy.
It's an away. Yeah, it's an away win.
Berks versus Cheadle. I'm going for Cheadle.
I'm gonna say a draw here.
Draw for AJ.
Yeah.
Now, Ramsbottom United versus Prestwich.
Yeah.
Hayes.
So
I've got to go
Rammy
Ramsbottom.
second, Prestwich Hayes 16th. Conceded as many goals as they've scored. 3 wins out of 11. Yeah, you'd be minded to say Ramsbottom there. Home win.
Yep. Stockport Town versus Earlham.
This is a really weird one because when Earlham play away from home, it's like a bit of a different team in much the same way that Holker All Boys are. And Stockport Town, we don't really talk about them, but they're not doing too badly.
They've only lost 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. They're a bit draw specialists.
Yeah,
so I'm saying
you're going to go for a draw.
I am going for a draw there at the Stockport.
I'm going for an Earlham win.
Fine.
Right, West Didsbury and Chiltern versus Longridge Town.
9th versus 12th.
I'm going for West Didsbury.
I am also going for West Didsbury and Chiltern. Watch this be the day that Longridge, come out on top.
Yeah.
Who did they beat the other day? And I wasn't expecting it. Was it Atherton?
Longridge.
Yeah, Longridge played somebody very, very recently, and they won. But I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that would irritate me, but if you were putting a bit of a bet builder on them, Longridge are not one of the teams that you'd gamble on with any kind of confidence because their results are just a bit topsy-turvy.
Was this in the... it was in the... No, it wasn't. I was just going to say, Longridge lost to Barnoldswick Town, didn't they? 3-1 in the Macron Cup on Saturday, so I don't know what...
I don't know what bloody results you're looking at, AJ. They drew... they drew 2-2 with City and Liverpool.
That's probably the shock.
Maybe. No, they did beat Atherton LR. They beat Atherton LR a week and a half ago.
Oh, right.
Yes, they did.
So
there you go.
Yeah, so...
Justified.
Who are we talking about here now?
Longridge against West Didsbury.
Well, I don't see them doing that against West Didsbury, so I'm still going for West Didsbury.
I'm going to go for a draw, mate.
Right.
You've
already said that you were going for a West Didsbury win and you've changed your mind. But
yes, I have.
That's fine. Wythenshawe versus South Liverpool.
Yeah, that's what we're going
for South. I'm going for Wythenshawe.
Wythenshawe we haven't talked about, but they're in 3rd place in the table. Only conceded 11 goals all season.
Well, they're the relegated team from the Northern Premier League West last season.
Yeah, they were.
And they managed to resurrect themselves. Once again, they've got a really good, solid defence. Yeah. Only 11 goals conceded.
And I'm sure about 5 of those were conceded against Berks in the first game of the season.
Because we expected it was going to go all sort of...
really pear-shaped for them.
Pear-shaped for them, but it hasn't. So I'm going for Wythenshawe anyway.
Yeah. And then the late kick-off, as it always is at the Bowl, where FC Isle of Man take on Barnoldswick. Now then.
Well, you would be anticipating that the new manager there would be hoping to get off to a flying.
You'd want a bit of a bounce, wouldn't you? If you're FC Isle of Man, you're going to want a bit of a new manager bounce. And to their credit, they've drawn 2, won 2, lost 9. It's just their habit of conceding goals that is the problem. They've conceded more than anybody else in the division, despite sitting 22nd out of 24 teams. With that in mind, and Barnoldswick propensity to score every so often, they've scored 16. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. No. I am going to say a draw, but it's going to be a score draw.
Yeah, well, listen, Rick Holden will be eager to impress.
Yeah, of course.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Paul Jones already alluded to the fact that he felt as though they were turning the corner. So off the basis of that, I'm going to go for the FC Isle of Man. You're going for a draw, yeah?
I am. Make sure you keep this paperwork together because we're going to mark our homework before next week.
Yeah, we'll have
because
to.
I'm winning this about 4-0 at this point.
Just purely because I've not.
Just you're not turning your homework in, Franklin.
I've not submitted my homework. Exactly. So listen, Division 1 North. We'll race through this as quick as we can. Aston Athletic versus AFC.
Man, this is a derby of two teams that are just failing to inspire at the minute. So I can I can see this being an AFC Blackpool win, but only just. I think it's going to be like 1-0.
Yeah, I'm going for AFC Blackpool as well. Daisy Hill versus Cone. I'm thinking Cone is still going to go.
Yeah, me too.
Darwin versus McGull.
Oh, that's a bit heavyweight.
An interesting one, as we know. McGull, overachievers in many ways, but are they?
Well, I don't think so. I think Joey Burns has got them set up in really the right way this year, and he's prolonging this really, really well, isn't he? You know, they're still second in the table. Got a game in hand on Droylsden. They win that, they go top. Whereas we've got to actually look at Darwin. You know, they've lost Leighton Smith, they've lost Connor Hughes, who was their top goal scorer.
They've scored 8 goals.
Yeah,
that's all they've scored. So that's their problem, is scoring goals. So McGull can score at will, can't they? So
they scored 5 against Nelson just by themselves.
Yeah, I'm hoping Joey do the business.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an away win for me. Yeah. Garstang versus Ashton Town. You've got to want to say that Garstang. You know, they had a bit of an early season. Light up. They've got a win under their belt and 3 draws, but the losses are starting to come in a little bit now. And Ashton, as I said earlier on, Kev is going to want to send a rocket up there, so it's another away win for me, I think.
Main Road versus Bake-Up. I mean, the one thing you picked up about Main Road is they're in 4th position. They've only conceded 7 goals. They
have only conceded 7 goals, which is, a feat only beaten by Holker Old Boys and Ashton Town and matched
for them
by AFC Blackpool, weirdly enough. Yeah. Amazing defensive record, but a terrible attacking record. Anyway, I am going to say... Hang on, where are Bake-Up? Yeah, they've only played 5 games.
From bottom.
Oh, yeah. You'd be minded to say a home win there.
MSB Walton versus Steeton.
Weird one, that. MSB Walton starting to do bits now. They pulled themselves away from the relegation zone. They're now in 11th place, which is comfortably mid-table. Steeton dropped off a little bit in the last couple of games, but still in the top 6.
I'm going for a draw.
I'm going to go for a draw as well.
Fair enough. Nelson versus Fullwood Amateurs.
I know Fullwood have been doing some really good bits and they are sitting in 5th, but honestly, I can't see Nelson dropping off now.
No, so I'm going for Nelson. Squiresgate versus Holker Old Boys.
It's a weird one, this, because Holker should be absolutely trouncing this one. And that's no offence to Squires Gate, but
we talk about them not being great travellers.
They're just not, are they? So I'm saying a draw.
You're going for a draw.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Holker Old Boys are going to do the business myself. But.
And then we're going to stick on the filed coast on this one for Thornton Cleveley's against Droylsden. Thornton Cleveley's in 10th, Droylsden top.
Yeah, I'm going for Droylsden.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a gamble.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's...
You've not picked up on that yet, have you?
Oh, no.
Thornton Cleveley's play.
At Gamble Road.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a gamble on Droylsden. Yeah, I'm going for Droylsden anyway. What are you going for?
I don't know. Because it's really difficult because Thornton Cleveley's just spring out the most weird results again.
Well, you heard it before from Arron. We talk terms of competition. And the name on everybody's lips is Droylsden.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, a lot of the reason why they are top is because of... Nelson Van, who's having an absolute worldie of a season at this point in time. I'm sure he scored about 12 or 13 goals.
So you're for Droylsden?
I am going to go for Droylsden, but I think it's a lot harder than what we make them out to be. Yeah. Right, First Division South.
Yeah, let's race through these. Allscott Heath versus Hormond.
Home win for me.
Home win for you. I'll go home win as well. Asheville versus Cheadle Heath. No match.
Away win.
Cheadle Heath, no
Actually,
match.
Draw.
Yeah, I'll go for a draw as well. Eccleshall versus Telford Town.
Telford take away the points there. Away win.
Yeah, Market Drayton Town versus Stafford Town. Stafford Town, I hate to say it, but I think they're going to win that one.
But we'd love Market Drayton to get a result.
We certainly would. New Mills versus Camelaird.
New Mills.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Listen, we'll go for New Mills on that one as well. Yeah, Runcorn Town versus Foley Men.
Yeah, that's Runcorn Town. They've they're
Shawbury United versus Barnton.
So Barnton are 4th.
I'm going for a draw.
Shawbury are 9th. Yeah, I'm going to say an away win.
Away win for AJ.
Yep.
Stockport Georgians versus Sandbach.
Yeah, Sandbach. I think they're
doing well, aren't they? So we go for Sandbach.
Mm-hmm. Then Alsager Town, who are 16th, versus Wolverhampton Sporting Community, who are bottom.
I think they might get their second win of the season.
I don't see it. I think Alsager are going to win that one.
Right, I'm going for Wolverhampton Sporting Wanderers. So listen, we'll race through the midweek games that bring us up to our next episode. Bearscow versus Berks. Going for Bearscow.
Battle of the Greens.
Yeah, Chadderton versus Abbey Hay. Chadderton for me.
Yeah.
FC St Helens versus Prestwich Hayes.
Home win.
Yeah, I'm going for that. Glossop North End versus Stockport Town.
Glossop North End.
I'm going for that as well. Erlen versus
That's a belter of a game, that one.
It is, but I still think Everton LRO do the business there.
Just a cheeky 1-0 win will do it for them.
Building ahead of steam.
Yeah, any one of Romano, Bacon or Lawless is going to score one.
Yeah. Padiham versus Longridge Town. You're going for Padiham again.
Ramsbottom versus Richard.
Yeah, Ramsbottom.
Rammy, yeah.
Wythenshawe versus Cheadle. I'm still going to go for Wythenshawe on that
Wythenshawe there, aren't you, really?
Tuesday, the 7th of October, in the First Division, Ashton Town versus McGull. I'm going to go for McGull.
Me too.
Droylsden versus MSB Walton. That's got to be Droylsden.
Yeah, you think so too.
Cheshire Senior Cup first round, Asheville versus Cheadle Heath Nomads.
Asheville.
You going Asheville, I'm going Cheadle Heath. Chester versus Alsager. I still think Chester, even though it'll be an under 18s, under 23s, whatever it is.
I think so too.
I'll go for that. Liverpool Senior Cup preliminary round.
That's the one.
AFC Liverpool versus Runcorn Town.
It'll be a good game, that.
It'll be a good game, and I think Runcorn will win it.
I think yeah.
You go for that, yeah. Staffordshire Senior Cup first round, Stafford Town versus Stoke City. I'm going for Stafford. Stoke, sorry, I'm going for Stoke. Yeah,
you going for Stafford against Stoke?
Yeah.
You might as well put a couple of quid on that.
But don't forget, like in our day, we've beaten Tranmere, Southport, Liverpool, Everton. You know what I mean? It can be done. Yeah, because they're only like development teams, aren't they?
Exactly.
Development squads or whatever. Anyway, listen, the TJ Vickers Premier League, Premier Cup quarter-finals, Horman versus Telford Town. That's going to be hot. I was going to say Horman.
Bloody
it's going to be Telford there.
And then Shawbury versus MDT, Market Drayton Town. Yeah, Dan Dawson's going to do the business there. Market Drayton Town are going to win. Away win for me.
Yeah, and that rounds up all the predictions.
Keep it safe.
And the fixtures. Keeping it safe.
Thank you.
It's there. It's locked up, so it can't be altered.
That's fine.
Listen, moving on to
Skem.
To Skem.
Cool.
So
Tell us.
I'm in a little bit more of a fortunate position because of your Ironman competition and the good lady's birthday on Saturday. You weren't able to make either of the last two games under.
No, sorry, Andy.
Yeah, under Andy's
stewardship.
Stewardship, as you call it. So what I would say is that we felt really, really disappointed on Saturday, on this Saturday, because for the first half an hour of the game we were the better team.
Now this was against.
This was against Waterloo Dock at Lower Breck, and we felt as though we were the better team. We certainly technically, physically, the better team. But then lack of concentration, communication, naivety cost us 3 quick goals in the first half, and then it's an uphill struggle. But we finished the better, stronger team, the fitter team. Older heads in terms of Waterloo Dock, knowing the league that they're in helps. So we were really, really disappointed, and we had a conversation after the game. So it was me, Andy Barlow and Barney, and we stood there on the car park discussing it. And I said, it's really, really difficult to criticise this game as much as it was the MSB Walton Reserves game, because yet again we started that the better team, and naivety. What we don't do is we don't challenge the decisions So we're not vocal enough where everybody else is. They jump on everything, and I do feel as though you can sway the opinion of a referee in a 50-50 decision if more shouts are coming from. If you don't shout, then if it's a 50-50, a referee's going to think, well, who's doing all the shouting here?
We saw that against Nalgo when that linesman incorrectly ruled for offside against Oliver Wright after a call from one of their defenders.
Yeah.
He was about 3 yards onside, but the linesman called it offside. So I think you're right. I think shouting does have some kind of sway. Yeah.
And listen, MSB Walton, the game itself, it was in monsoon conditions. The weather was absolutely atrocious, and I suppose when you're looking back at it, you could probably forgive that result more because of the shocking conditions that we played in. And then, of course, we had Kevin Ledbetter that was controlling the midfield, who got injured and came off.
Oh, really?
In the first half, and the game changed a lot after that. But I suppose, if I'm really brutally honest, I was more disappointed by the result against MSB Walton than I was against the game at Waterloo Dock. And then we spoke about it on Tuesday night at training, and both Andy and Barney agreed that we were fortunate, really. We were locked out of the changing rooms, so we couldn't get into the changing rooms at half time. And I think Andy probably would have vented his spleen a little bit more had they have gone back into the changing rooms. It was a little bit more sort of tempered in the,
pitch side,
right. The conversation. And I think once he'd had time to think about it, Andy himself, he thought it wasn't as bad. There were three. What the first one was a mistake by Duan. The other two are headers, clear. A little bit like the Michael Keane header against West Ham on Monday night. Nobody there, nobody talking, nobody marking at all. Keeper didn't really come for it, but then, he's a young keeper, 19-year-old.
Is that how he is?
Joe had family commitments, so he couldn't make the game. So a very untested keeper. But we do feel as though we're a little bit cursed. I don't know at times whether we need to break that cycle somehow. And when we do, we feel as though things will come together. And if you look back to the Nalgo game, not the Nalgo game, but if you look back to the FC Harry game, then we had players like Jack Pearce, Conor Reddy, and Chris Lomax in the team. So you add those three players to that squad that we had there, and they win 7-2. Really, really good victory. So are we that far away from being an accomplished, a decent team that can compete in there? And maybe we're overstretching in terms of our feelings and aspirations. Finishing top 5, should we be concentrating more on floating and seeing where we are at Christmas, and then reevaluating? Then the pressure is enormous on everyone. The pressure for Tommy pre-season, trying to attract quality players to do a job in that division, and you need experienced players. And if you don't have experienced players, then you need 11 fiddle players with and I'm not saying they don't have a great deal of intelligence, because that's not the case. It's just the naivety side of things. Yeah. And if you can win the physical, if you certainly can win the in terms of fitness, the fitness battle, we can win the technical battle. We can win the physicality, the conversational attributes. They're where we fail, and that's where we need to improve. And maybe they're the players that we should be looking at when we're bringing in. I'm certainly, sure that's what both Andy and Barney are looking at, is bringing more vocal players into that. And it's not wholesale changes. We've got a cup game at the weekend against FC Kirby, and we could have probably looked at wholesale changes on Saturday, but I think what you've got to do is you've got to run with what you've got now and tinker
in minorities.
Accordingly. You do it in what do you call it?
Stages.
Yeah, I was thinking of a more fancy word, but I can't think of it right now. It's been a long podcast, but very taxing, a little bit like the football. But yeah, I don't think so. I think the general consensus of opinion is we're not a million miles away, but it's proving that.
Yeah,
and we were
really
in that position last season.
Yes,
but
we were.
what happened last season, which was totally different to what we've got now, we're playing a game a week. Sometimes we're playing a game every
3 days.
Last season we were playing games, midweek, and so by the end of October, early November, we played nearly half of our fixtures. And when we did gather a little bit of momentum, once you get to that Christmas and you're just flipping over into New Year, you're struggling from a sort of a psychological point of view. Then you're getting better, but the results are not getting. You're not just pulling enough.
It's just not reflecting, is it?
Results in.
No,
we haven't got that luxury this season. We've got to pull the results in. We can't. We can't go any lower. But we're not taking this. We're not taking this league for granted.
We never were. Never were.
No, we haven't from the start, and we know of teams that have dropped down from the Northwest Counties that have done exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. We just weren't one of them. We were never going to do that.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that there are teams like Lower Breck who were in this league a handful of years ago. We talked to Gary Moore about this at the end of last season. He said it's a brutal awakening to the realities of football league. Yeah.
But it's nice now to see MSB Walton are actually picking up points and gathering a little bit of a momentum. Yeah. And hopefully it'll stay like that and they'll stay up in that division. That proves that teams that have progressed from Liverpool County Premier League can go the distance in the Northwest Counties, because that's what we aspire to. If we get back in the Northwest Counties, whether it be at the end of this season or the season after, whatever it's going to be. Listen, we're doing all the hard work behind the scenes. We talked about a new main club sponsor and the fact that we're about to reveal the new shirt in the next the coming weeks. We held off, but we held back on that. So everything off the pitch in terms of getting sponsorship, it all come a little bit later than we were expected. But we were patient, and I think patience is the key word in this situation. Certainly where the results are concerned as well. We can match that kind of patience in both areas, then something will come up, because we've been successful off the field. I don't want to say, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but I had a very successful meeting today in terms of a new potential partner, not just as a sponsor, a financial partner, but a bit more than that as well. Something that will bring back the community force, if you like, when we do come back to Skem. It's somebody that realises, a business within Skelmersdale that recognises that Skelmersdale United Football Club should be back in Skem and wants to support all of those people that mean something to Skem. And like I say, it's all about patience, but people, as we know, aren't patient. All we see is the 3-0 scoreline. The defeat, those two defeats, but I think most of the games that we played, the only game that you can actually say where we've really, really underperformed for the full 90 minutes is against Sefton Athletic. Sefton Athletic are a decent team, and I've not looked at the league tables, but I think they were top, weren't they, or second place?
Second now, the Grenadier are top.
Grenadier, that's it, right, Grenadier top. So there's those 3 or 4 teams now in that top of that division.
They're
going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. Yeah. I think the rest is anybody that gathers momentum and starts building up a head of steam, and hopefully we can be one of them. But listen, we wouldn't be in the predicament that we are in now if we were already back in Skem. So the focus will always be on getting back to Skem, floating from a football perspective. If we can do that, that's what our aim is to do. Can we throw money at it? It's a difficult one, because you can't even recruit players at this level, because those bench warmers at Northwest Counties.
They would happy stay at bench
They're happy
warmer
stay
level.
there for 20, 30 quid before they come to Skem for 20, 30 quid.
Yeah.
So that's what we're battling again. And I hate to say this, because for all that we talk about naysayers, is that what we don't want to do is we don't want to drum up controversy and fall out and anger people. But the simple fact is, when you do get relegated, and because of financial issues, because you can't afford to compete, you're getting relegated, and then you're losing your squad and rebuilding each time.
After time.
If we can float in the Liverpool County Premier League, we will keep 2/3 of our team, and we will be stronger going into next season. And that's not to say we've given up on promotion. It's just that we have to be, there has to be a sense of realism as well as patience. So two key words there: patience and realism. But I think you'd say yourself, some of the football that we have seen, it has been good in phases. But every manager, any manager that comes to Skem United Football Club will have the same problem. Recruitment's not easy at this level. Finding your way at this level is not easy. Dealing with amateur football compared to Northern Premier League football is on a totally different level, and experience, another key word, comes into play as well. So I don't think all's lost. I think a lot of what's happening off the field, and we'll have more information on that big press reveal when we announce the main club sponsor and our new partners as well. All's going relatively well, and somebody said, listen, just concentrate on the off the field matters. We've been doing that for a long time now.
So we have.
And it's bearing some fruit, but you've got to keep an eye on the football side of things as well, because we don't want to plummet any further.
No, God.
But listen, we've covered Skem. I think
to a degree, So just want to re-emphasise to people that we have our race night coming up next Friday, the 10th of October. Tickets are £10. You can buy those from either inboxing any of the club members or actually the club themselves, whichever you'd like to do. On the following Monday, the 13th of October, we are hosting a Meet the Team night.
Meet the Club night.
Meet the Club night, over at the Busy Bee in Skelmersdale. So Frank, myself, and other members of the committee will be in attendance. I'm assuming Andy and Barney will be as well.
Andy's definitely there. Barney's trying to get the time off work, so I'm hoping Barney will be there as well. We
understand that over the course of the season, a lot of questions have been raised as to the running of the club, both on the pitch and off the pitch. We understand that people will have questions about how the club is being run, what direction it is taking, who the contributors are on the pitch and off the pitch, and on the sidelines. So we want to give you the opportunity to come and clear the air, ask any questions or any concerns that you may have about how Skelmersdale United Football Club is being run, and let us try and assure you and inform you in the best way that we can possibly can for all involved.
Now I believe this is the fourth Meet the Club session we've had since I rejoined the club. I felt as though it was really important, because people were talking about clarity and honesty, and I think we try to be as clear and as honest as we can within the parameters that we can. And there's probably a lot more we can say at a meeting that we can say on air or release in public. But by and large, what we've found in the past is those people that turn up to these Meet the Club sessions are supporters, existing supporters that come along, who've still got a few queries but would like to help as well, and they offer their services. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, that a lot of the people that are more critical of Skem never actually turn up to these Meet the Club sessions. So I just say to you, listen, come, we won't bite. We're a very forgiving organisation as well. We understand that we're living in a social media world where people react probably the way they wouldn't specifically do if they were face to face with someone. But I often think that sometimes if you're face to face with people, you can either see the sincerity or the bullshit in equal proportions. So please come along on Monday the 13th October at the Busy Bee, and you'll be met with a warm welcome. Nothing's off limit. The questions, we'll answer them as honestly as we can. If there's things that we can't answer, we'll tell you the reasons why we can't answer them. There's no cloak and daggery stuff. It's there are reasons when you can't be more specific about things, but by and large, we can tell you most of everything. We can answer most of your questions. So please come along. It'd be great to see you.
Yeah, we just ask that you be respectful. We understand that social media is a time when is a place when clubs and individuals can be particularly vilified in the face of poor results and results that might seem unacceptable. And we completely get that, but we do ask for regard for human compassion and feelings. We're all putting our time in with no pay, and in fact a loss of money for both Frank and myself. We're not getting anything financially back out of this despite putting money into the club. So we would ask that you be as civil as possible, please.
Yeah, listen, it'd be great to see you, and like we said, we're a very forgiving club. So that sort of rounds up part 3, the final part of the show, where we just quickly sort of glance over what we've learned in the last week. What have you learned?
I've learned that inclusion comes from a much more natural and easier scope than what people think, and it doesn't really matter too much about words. It matters about actions, and it matters about not necessarily sticking to a script, but more about how you'd more naturally engage with somebody and make them feel more welcome. And I've often found that your actions are more welcomed than what your words are. Yeah,
totally agree with it. I mean, I've probably covered this several times on the show, but and I keep using the word patience. Patience is a virtue. You keep working hard. You don't always get the rewards that you feel as though your hard work warrants. But somewhere down the line, and I think we mentioned it very early on in the first season of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, is that one day somebody will throw you a bone. And
starting to get a couple of those.
Yeah, we're getting a few, and we're running with them. And it's purely down to patience and not sort of flipping.
Trigger happy actions.
Well, I can't mention trigger happy, can we really? Because that sort of goes back to recruitment and you know what I mean? Just trying to be careful on that one. But listen, we try to make the right decisions, and in terms of being patient with things off the field, we managed to secure really good collaborations and sponsorship deals. Listen, another fixture for you tomorrow afternoon, if you can make it, is at 12 o'clock. The ESPFA Academy team are playing at home, believe it or not, at Berks, because the JMO floodlights are getting refitted. So it will be at Berks ground tomorrow. They're playing Rushall Olympic, so that's a 12 o'clock kick-off. Be nice to see you there supporting the youth team. Yeah, but listen, patience,
please.
Please, yeah. And listen, I'll leave the final words to the
Don't say it now!
And you would get it in there eventually. I don't like saying it twice, so I just said it once. AJ, come on. Over to you.
You've been listening to the Speaking Frankly Football Show with me, AJ Vergette, and my co-host, Mr. Frank Dulcet Hughes. Dull. This podcast is available on most streaming services, wherever you get your podcast, including Amazon Music and Spotify. Please rate and review, as we do thrive off hearing your feedback. Please also subscribe to the show on the streaming services so that you can find out firsthand when a new episode of the show has been released, most frequently normally on a Friday. We are also available on social media sites, mainly X and Facebook, under the banner term Speaking Frankly Football Show. So please give us a follow then for a lot of news and updates regarding the show and its production. And so from Frank and myself, we will see you next week for episode 14 of the show. Until then, bye-bye for now.